Nicholas Kimeli, is one of the very good athletes, that are here today in the trials, and I know that he has a very big chance for him to be able to win these trials. Of course, again, we have Daniel Epeo Simio, who has been a very good athlete, despite the fact that sometimes he runs the road races. But again, he's a very consistent athlete. And I think, Wahome, what I know is this: in this race, as you look at it at the moment, Simio is actually pushing. Same thing as Kimeli, because for these athletes to be able to they must make the 1, 2, 3 across the line for them to be able to go to the World Championships.
Well, at the front right now, we have Nicholas Kipkoril Kimeli, who is at the top, and just behind him is Daniel Ebenyo Simiu. And the man in the yellow bib is Bernard Kibet. He's not a 5,000-meter runner himself. And one of the things he's going to try and do is meet the qualifying standards of 13 minutes, 13.5 seconds for the World Championships. Remember, it's the first to pass the line and a wild card. This is an event that has eluded Kenyans for a very long time. Benjamin Limo, the last person to Kenyan to win it in 2005. As we see a change of lead as we now get towards the home straight. And at the front, Kimeli is still there. We've got Jacob Krop. Jacob Krop, the second fastest in the world this year, 12:46.79. And that means that there is a lot that everyone is expecting from this lead group that is here, as you see them go around the bend.
Yeah, and I think, as you rightly say, that it has really eluded us as Kenyans. The 5,000 meters since the time of Benjamin Limo in 2005 when he won, we have not had any Kenyan winning. And I think with the group that we have of Nicholas Kimeli, Jab Kirop, Simiu, I think we have a chance this year to be able to make a medal during the World Championships for sure.
Well, also in the field, we've got Edward Cheserek. He's based in the UK, and he is one of those athletes who are known as the Ducks from their college, the Oregon Ducks out there in the United States. He held the world record in the 5K road running, 13 minutes, 29 seconds. And looking at the caliber of such athletes who are now coming up here, what is the kind of competition as with now just over 5 laps to go, and just taking a look at the clock that is there, 9:29, as they now have got 2,000 meters to go.
Yeah, and I think what is important, especially for these athletes, to be able to run very good, and for them to be able to win, the pace must be very fast. We see what they are doing at 64. And I know definitely when it comes to the final laps, they will be doing under 60 for sure, because we have seen the 5,000 meters athletes most of the time, they make it quick as they go towards the finish. Compared, for example, if you see the start of it, they were running at around 67, 68, which is very slow for the 5,000, but at least for now the pace has just started to peak.
Well, as they now come round the bend, and after this they will have 4 laps to go, and still Nicholas Kimeli is up front, and then we've got Kibet close by, and also making sure that he stays within there is Simiu Ebenyo.
Remember that Nicholas Kimeli, has got a personal pace of 13:46, which is actually very quick, and that's why you see as he takes the lead, he's actually in control of the race, and that's very important for an athlete, for you to be in charge of the race, so that you can not be able to make mistakes. Again, we have realized that in 5,000, it's easy for some of these athletes that are very good to make a mistake, and then they are being boxed in.
Well, also in this race, we've got 2 of the stars of the Under-17 World Championships that were at this very stadium in the year 2017. We're talking about Edward Zakayo Pingua. He's currently 6th in that group. And we also have got Stanley Mboro Waithaka. He's currently 3rd. He is the top brown lanky fellow based in Japan. For Stanley Waithaka, 13:05.21 in Heusden Zolder in Belgium, 2019. That was his personal best, and his season's best at the moment, 13:17.26, and that was in Japan where he's based.
Yeah, talking about Waithaka. Remember in 2001, Bernard Kamati, won. Charles Kamati won the 10,000 meters back in 2009, and he was based in Japan. And I think what is important to note is that most of these athletes who are training and based in Japan, they have proven also to be very good. And I think he has a chance as well. Coming to these trials, as we always say, Wahome, is that when you come to the trials, expect anything. You know, you are not being guaranteed. It doesn't matter. You may come here as the best athlete, you may have the best time, but always trials will surprise you. And I won't be surprised that we will be having surprises here today.
Well, and you know, the Kenyan trials are respecters of no one. You can go and ask the great John Ngugi. He got shocked in the 5,000 meters. I think it was in 1990. And everyone simply said this is going to be different. And Nicholas Kimeli still at the moment, still controlling the pace. And they will have 2 laps to go. The time on the clock, just under 12:30. And Nicholas Kimeli, there is a bell. 12:35 on the clock. And it is now down to about 5 athletes. And also, Daniel Mateko is up there. You've got Jacob Krop, Stanley Waidaka. They've got now 300 meters to go. Who's got the strongest kick? Remember, it's the first 2 past the line who qualify automatically. Look at that run as that gap is there. They're now down to 4. Just take a look at that. Nicholas Kimeli up front. Stanley Waidaka, he's just there. Nicholas Kimeli is at the front. There is that bend that must be taken as they go around. And just take a look at Waidaka, Krop, the 2 fastest men in the 5K in the world at the moment. Who's going to take these trials? Stanley Waidaka is behind them, but just take a look at them. They move into lane 2. This is unusual. And just take a look at this. Stanley Waidaka's lost it, and just take a look at it. Krop takes it. 13:01. Nicholas Liena Krop. What a race that has been. Winning time 13:01.
And for Kimeli, you know, he has really shown that he's very good, you know, in the speed. And 13:01, I can tell you that, you know, it's one of those races that are really very good to be able to run in high altitude. And remember that the weather today, you know, is a little bit cooler, but again, it works for the 5,000 meters. It's very good for them. And I think with 13:01 has proven that they are very good, especially going to the trials, going to the World Championships in Eugene.
Now, this is something that everyone, that I want to pick up. 13:01 at altitude.
Absolutely, it's amazing, you know, what Kimeli was able to do here today to be able to run 13:01, because I have not seen trials here in Kenya running 13:01 in the recent past, and that is why it proves that Nicholas Kimeli is very ready. Is actually, you know, very good for the World Championships. I think we stand a very good chance.
Well, we'll be giving you some little details about Krop and Kimeli and that time. But now, let's move over trackside where Isaac Lemoka is going to be speaking with the race winner, Nicholas Kimeli, and the runner-up, Jacob Krop.
Tuna mshindi wa mbio za mita 1500 Joshua Kimeli. Kimeli, congratulations. Unajihisi vipi kwa kushinda mbio hizi?
Okay, first of all, I want to say thank you for cheering me, everyone who have cheered me today. I want to thank also my coach, also my management. I not forget you for supporting me. Thank you a lot. Also, thank you to my fans for cheering me for today's race. The race was good. We have enjoyed the best. The best was not too tough. It was not sunny. It was so cloudy, humid. So the weather was so perfect. It's allowed me to run very easy today to qualify for World Championship in Oregon come next month. And I want to promise you that I will go and do my best to go and look for the medal to our country, beloved country, Kenya. I will represent you very well as you all my fans and my countrymen. I will represent you very well. I want to promise you today, I want to use all tactics so that it will not be like the last time in Olympic, which I'll go at 4th place. It has disappointed me for some months, but I've recovered. I'm ready to defend the country. I'm ready to work for it. Okay. Okay, mazoezi yangu nimefanya kule na coach wangu Patrick Sang. I think msimu ya mazoezi imeenda mzuri. Bado inapepa mzuri kabisa. Juu nimewin easy, sija struggle hata venye mliona nilikuwa na relax. Hata nikimaliza nilikuwa na relax. So I was in good shape because I won last time. I think 2 weeks ago I won Rome Diamond League. So hiyo ndio ilinipea motisha sana. Hadi wa leo nimekuwa nikifocus now gold medalist for the country.
Crop, mambo vipi?
Poa sana.
Congratulations, mbio zimekuaje leo?
Ndio
Thank
saa
you
leo
very much, Isaac
zimekupoa.
Lamoka. Speaking to Nicholas Kimeli, and we were just going through some of these numbers with Wilfred here, and Nicholas Kimeli, and we just need to understand this phenomenon that is Nicholas Kimeli. And last year, in June, he clocked, and that was at the Olympic trials, he clocked 13 minutes, 3.98 seconds at altitude. He has just slashed almost 4 seconds. He's slashed just almost 3 seconds from that. 13:01.
Amazing. You know, that is why I said earlier that I didn't even know that it is the fastest time in altitude, because you don't actually see such an athlete being able to run 13:01. And I think, you know, it's very impressive. And I think for the first time, I can have confidence that, you know, when it comes to the World Championship this year, we have a prospect of a medalist, because we know most of the World Championships, you know, is won at around maybe 12:58, 13:01, sometimes even 13:12. And being able to run here at the trials, at the altitude in Kasarani, to be able for him to run 13:01, it means he's in amazing shape. He's actually very good.
Well, and Jacob Krop just behind him, which means that the fastest time in altitude previously, 13:03.98. And just to put it into context, when we talk about altitude, Nairobi is 5,000 feet above sea level. We're talking about 1,700 meters above sea level. And that means you got to understand that it's quite heavy. Well, looks like the clock must have been behind it, but we shall be taking a look at that. As we see that happen. The next event on the track, and they are lining up for this, is the women's 200 meters, and the entry standard for the World Championships is at, and yes, is for the World Championships 22.8, and there are two athletes I want to focus on, and one is Maximila Imali with a personal best of 23.37. It's a national record, and she also holds a national record in the 100 meters, which is 11.26 seconds, and that's her. And the time 23.37 is actually her season's best. And she won a silver in Mauritius in the 200 meters, an African Championship silver. And we've got Millicent Ndoro, 23.48 from 2019, and this year she has a 23.83 time. The quality required, just looking at them here, knowing initially that they had been set for the Commonwealth Games, because that's where their prospects are. World Athletics are very strict with their entry times. For Millicent Ndoro and Maximila Imali, throw in Eunice Kadogo and Mercy Chebet, Linda Kageha. What's the field that you see here with the probability, you know, for the Commonwealth Games?
Yeah, I think it was something very important to me to be able to mention here is that, you know, Kenya is actually proving at the moment that they are very good in the sprints, and especially with the 100 meters. We know most Kenyans will be excited for tomorrow. For Omanjala, that is. But one thing that I am 100% sure is that, you know, the quality of athletes, that is Maximila and Millicent, they may not be able to qualify, especially for the World Championships, but one thing that I'm 100% sure is that they will be able to represent this country come the Commonwealth Games that will be happening on 28th of July to 8th of August. We have a lot of prospects, but I think something very important is that, you know, this country, we must make sure that, you know, we develop these athletes so that at least they can be able to represent the country in the sprints, because Kenya at the moment the world is focused again for once in the sprints that we have not been able to see for so many years.
Well, and a general feel of the weather, because this is something that, you know, sprinters are not friends with what may be referred to as the cool weather, and in Kenya it is known as the land of the sun and the lion. But when it hits June, July, August, it gets really chilly. Temperatures come down, at times can go down to as low as 15 or 13. May sound strange for people from the north, from north of the tropics or south of the tropics. This is what we call in quotes our winter. But the real field today, 21, 22 degrees Celsius, 97% cloud cover. What's that for sprinters?
Well, I think I can tell you that, the weather patterns, actually works for different kind of athletes, and especially for the long distance, this is the very good. And I think, it favors during the 5,000 that we saw a few minutes ago, that they were able to run very good time is because of the weather. Again, for the sprinters, they need warm temperatures. Of course, 21 is not so bad, but unfortunately, as we sit here in Kasarani, it's cloudy, and we may not really have very fast times. However, we will still be able to, I hope, and that we will see some of these athletes being able to run.
And taking you through the start list that you can see on the screen, Linda Kageha of Nairobi, 25.03 in lane 1. Lane 2, Veronica Mutua, 400 meter specialist, 24.75 her best. Eunice Kadogo of the National Police Service, 24.11 her best time. Maximila Imali, national champion, 23.37, a national record is running in lane 4. Lane 5 is Millicent Ndoro, 23.82. Masi Chebe from Kericho, 24.27 in 6. Monica Sofania from Police, 24.33 in 7. And Jen Chege in 8. The start of the women's 200 meters.
And actually, give it to the police, because, if you see the National Police Service, they have a big number of athletes here who are going to run the sprints, and it's very impressive, actually, to be able to watch them being able to do here.
The start of the women's 200 meters. And off they go and round the bend, and Maximila Imali is out like a bullet. And already we can see Veronica Mutua, the 200-meter specialist, out there. The silver medalist from the African Championships, takes the bend, and she hits the front immediately. Just take a look at the gap she's created on everybody else, with Millicent on her right. And she's trying to get 22.8. Let's take a look at the clock, and she does 23.12 seconds. It's a new national record.
Yeah, very impressive, 23.12. And I think that must be our personal best again. And I think, the weather today, we can easily say that, we are going to have a very good times, because if you look at the times that these athletes are doing, it's really very, very impressive.
Well, and Wilfred, 23.12, and here is what stands out. The wind is minus 2.3.
Meaning that, the winds are on their side, because again, when you are running and you have the seat going against the winds, definitely there is a lot of resistance, and that's why they always make sure that they give you the time, the wind, there, so that at least they can be able to adjust the time. Definitely, the final time, as we have 23.12, it will change.
Well, quite some slight adjustment, but if you take a look at it, that fact that she was running into a wind stands out, and she is still on her knees, yet to receive her bouquet of flowers. And taking second place, Millicent Ndoro, her teammate at the National Police Service, and part of that quartet that won a bronze at the All Africa Games and in the 4x100 meter relay. Yes, the National Police Service, the women's sprint team, please, if you are a low breaker, please, they will catch up with you very fast. 23.12, 23.5 for Millicent Ndoro, and Eunice Kadogo taking third in 24.06.
Yeah, and I think something very important to mention, especially for the sprints, most of the time athletes want to be pushed, and if you see, for Maximila and Millicent, they were not able to push each other at the finals, and I think, that is why we didn't have, I believe they would have run below 23, because if they were both together, because one took off so fast, and I think that was Maximila, who took off very fast, and if they were together coming towards the finals, I believe they would have done below 23 seconds.
Well, and as she catches her breath, let us move trackside. Isaac Lamoka is speaking with the national record holder, 23.12, Maximila Imali.
Imali, hujambo?
Si jambo.
Congratulations, mbio zimekuaje?
Mbio zimekuwa mzuri, na nashukuru Mungu kwa sababu tulikuwa tumeplania hii. Wakati nimetoka Afrika kuwin na hiyo silver, niliona Mungu anaweza kufanya jambo nikimbie vizuri katika mbio za mita 200 Kenya.
Na umeandikisha muda wa sekunde 23. Je, ulikuwa unatarajia leo kufanya hivyo?
Sikuwa nimetarajia kukimbia 23 moja mbili. Tulikuwa tumepanga na coach nitakimbia 23 low hapo, lakini vile nimeona nimekimbia vizuri, nashukuru Mungu.
What is your threat ukielekea Oregon?
Saizi siwezi jua kwa sababu unajua kukimbia 200 itakuwa mara yangu ya kwanza kukimbia 200 katika mbio za kimataifa. Siwezi sema kitu chochote kwa sababu nilikuwa nimejipanga vile ambavyo tulikimbia kule, kulikuwa na mvua na saizi nashukuru Mungu kwa sababu pia hapa kuna hiyo weather ilikuwa mbaya. Asante.
Kuna second one. Huyu ni rafiki ya nani? Ya Elina.
Well, thank you very much. Isaac Lemoka speaking to Maximilian Mali, who's just set a new national record in the women's 200 meters and 23.12. And next, we shall be moving to the men's 200 meters. And this is one where the World Championships time is 20.24. That's what has been said by World Athletics. The Commonwealth Games standard much lower. And the interesting thing about this race is that 3 of the athletes who won the 4x100 meter relay gold, and this was at the African Championships in Mauritius, will be here. And let me take you through the start list. In lane 1, we have got James Lokidichi from ART, Mark Kangede from Universities, 21.23, an upcoming athlete. Look out for him. Did quite well at the nationals that were held in April, then were also trials for the African Championships. In lane 3, from the Kenya Prison Service, we have got Hesbon Ochieng, 20.95, one of the 4 of either sub-21 runners in the 200 meters that we have in Kenya. Then we've got Mike Mokamba of the Kenya Defence Forces, 20.77. The fastest on the field from the Kenya Defence Forces, Samuel Imeta, 20.76. Dan Kiviazi will be running in lane 6, 20.89. Boniface Mweresa of the KDF is a 400-meter specialist. He's been the national champ, 21.06. Stephen Oloch from KDF, 21.03. Who are the gold medal winning quartet? Mike Mokamba, Samuel Imeta, and Dan Kiviazi. The only person missing is the second fastest man in the world in the 100 meters this year. He goes by the name of Ferdinand Omanyala because last night Fred Kali did 9.83, moving faster than 9.85. So we'll be coming on to that later. But just looking at this field that you see there, lanes to look out for, 3 to 6, given the quality that we've seen from them at the nationals and also at the Kip Keino Classic, where the 200 was a discretionary event. As they go off, and there they are already. We can see that in lane 4 we've got Mike Mokamba. He's taken off. The Sancho El Cunningham now takes the band and he's at the front, catching up. Just take a look at him on the inside. Hesbon Ochieng, and he's taken forward. But look at the surge that is coming in from Samuel Imeta, and what a race that is, 20.65.
I think this is very impressive, look, these guys, they have come here with 2077, 2076, 2089, and now they have done 2065. There is something that I mentioned to you earlier, Wahome, and I say that when the athletes are able to push themselves, being close together, they can be able to have a very good time. That is why we have 2065, which I believe for the majority of these athletes, they have run their personal best today.
Mike Mokamba, his father was in the 4x4 relay team. So just taking a look at the clock, 20.65, Dan Kiviazi second, Samuel Imeta third, and guess what? It's the 3 gold medal winning relay members who've taken it. Mike Mokamba 20.65, Dan Kiviazi 20.73, Samuel Imeta 20.9, Stephen Oloch 21.18, Hesbon Ochieng 21.2, and Mark Kangede 21.32, James Lokidichi 6.67 out there. Boniface Mweresa did not start.
And I think, as we said, watch for the 3. We always know very well that, when it comes to time, when it comes to the lane 3, 4, and 5, always is to watch.
Now let's go down to Isaac.
Unajihisi vipi?
Nasikia poa. At least nimeweza kuimprove kwa time yangu yenye nilikimbia Mauritius. At least nimeweka season best time.
Na mbio za leo zimekuaje? Umezionaje?
Mbio za leo zimekuwa poa, competition imekuwa tight, but nashukuru nimeweza kumanage nikashinda hiyo race.
Kipi ambacho labda ni changamoto ambacho unahofia unaweza kupatana nayo wakati unaenda Oregon?
Kwa sasa tu ni kujikaza kwa mazoezi. Changamoto yote bado hatujaweza kuona kupata, juu unajua uko mbio si rahisi, but bidii tutatia ili tuweze kukimbia vizuri huko.
Asante sana.
Thank you.
Kivazi, mambo vipi?
Poa sana.
Aha, umeionaje mbio?
Condition imekuwa poa.
Ndio.
Yeah, despite the weather hivi, but we thank God no one has been injured and I'm happy to be the silver medalist here.
Ulikuwa unatarajia kwamba utafanya vyema katika uteuzi huu?
Yeah, I was expecting kwa sababu like a week ago tulikuwa African Games, African Championship Mauritius, basing in the low altitude. Venye tulikuja Nairobi, we knew we are going to run good times.
Na mkienda Oregon ni plan gani mnayo?
First of all, we are planning to better our times individually, then we're really focusing on the 4x1 team, then the one that we brought gold at the African Championship. So we know that we're going to lower the time and bring the glory home back.
Asante sana.
Thank
you so much. Hapa pia nina Imeta, mambo vipi? Nafurahi sana kuzungumza na wewe siku ya leo. Mashindano yamekuwa vipi?
Mashindano hayajakuwa that friendly, lakini tuna aim pale kwa our relay. We thank God. Ni make it low kwa number 3. I wish na improve na train to improve my time.
Ni kipi ambacho labda kilifanya wewe ukaandikisha muda ambao umeandikisha leo na kuwa nambari 3?
Ni training tu, kupiga zoezi nini. Lakini nashukuru Mungu mahali nimefika.
Unaelekea Oregon.
Yes.
Changamoto ipi ambayo labda unafikiri unahitaji kukumbana nayo na kuandikisha matokeo mazuri?
Mimi naomba nikipata management itakuwa better sana, sababu nitakuwa na provide at least everything. Sasa mimi nitakwenda kitu ni training.
Asante sana. Nashukuru sana. And all the best. Huyo ni Imeta, washindi wa kwanza na pili na watatu wa mbio za mita 200 kwa wanaume ambao wamefika papa hapa. Tunatarajia mita 1500 kwa wanawake ambayo itakuwa inaanza muda mfupi kutoka sasa. Lakini kwa sasa Daniel Wahome, kazi kwako.
Well, thank you very much, Isaac Lemoka. Speaking with Mike Mokamba, Dan Kiviazi, and Samuel Imeta, the trio that won gold in the 4x100 meter relays and narrows history, making the first time that Kenya won gold at the African Championships. And they've topped the 200 meters, all in under 21. Explosive coming in from those three athletes, one from the prisons, that's Kiviazi, and the two KDF men, Samuel Imeta and Mike Mokamba. Next, we're moving on to the 1,500 meters. They're at the start line. And yes, in the field, we've got the world leader, Faith Kipyegon, and 3:52.59 at the Hayward Field in Eugene, Oregon, where the Worlds will be. Also in the field, we've got Edna Jebitok and 4:02.64, the winner of the Kip Keino Classic. And there goes the gun, went with a double, 3 3/4 laps around this track, and the qualification time 4 minutes 4.20. Completing that, we've got Winnie Chebet, Purity Chepkirui, Brenda Chebet, Marceline Terono, and Susan Njore, who's been entered as an individual.
And I think something very important to be able to mention here is that 1500 meters, Kenyans have been doing very well, especially with Faith Kipyegon. Interestingly, Wahome, there is something that I wanted to mention, especially about Faith Kipyegon. She has been one of the most consistent athletes. She's one of the most loved athletes, in the track. And she has shown to be also very good-hearted in heart. Because I listened the other day, there is this lady, Caroline Nyaga, who wanted the
10,000 meter goal.
10,000 who was gifted, by Faith Kipyegon, and I think already she's proving that, she's coming in front. She's in.
Well, notable absentee, Faith Kipyegon. So,
talking about 1500, it always has a lot of surprises, and I think majority of them, of course, unlike, for example, the 200 meters, the 100 meters that we do not know the athletes who have qualified. The good thing is, with Kenyan athletes, majority of them have already have the qualification for the World Championships. The only thing is, as always, the trials is tough, and therefore they have got to make 1, 2, 3 across the line for them to be able to represent the country. That is something that they come. And something else that I wanted to mention to you, Wahome, is that most athletes, they should make sure that they are ready and on top form at the right time. Because unfortunately, as we saw with the 100 meters, Kelly, for example, you have already mentioned that, he has run the fastest time. because he's speaking at the right time. And I think for the 1500 meters athletes, they should be able to be at the top form at the right time. That is during the actions in Oregon, Eugene.
Well, they will now have 800 meters to go, and Faith Kipyegon is already in Team Kenya because the qualification process for the World Championships means that as a Diamond League winner from 2021, you do get a wild card, which means that she is there. As a defending champion, you also get a slot, but if there are two, a Diamond League winner and a defending champion, like in the case of Timothy Cheruiyot, he also gets a bye through to the 1,500. So it's going to be interesting who joins Faith Kipyegon and go offer the kind of competition that would be coming in the championships this year. Because looking at the top lists, look out for compete against Gudaf Segai of Ethiopia, Hirut Mesheha and Periwet there.
Yeah, and I think as you rightly said, these athletes, especially for Faith, who already have a qualification, for Kenya will have a very big chance, especially on the same note that you have just mentioned, that we will send 4 athletes to represent the country, and therefore it works for the Kenyan athletes that they can be able to sacrifice one athlete to run as a pace setter. But I think, Chepitog already is there. This is the final lap. We have as well Chepet being there in front. And I think, what has surprised me today is that these athletes, they have made a very good move on the last lap always. And as you can see, we still have 5 athletes that each one of them has a chance to be able to win these trials.
Well, and with 250 meters to go, it's the African champion Edna Jebitok who's at the front with Winnie Chebet staying close to her. As now with 200 meters to go, they take the bend. 3:41 on the clock. Entry standard for the World Championships, 4:04. And already we can see those who are there. And just take a look at this. Winnie Chebet move forward, but look, that gap's being closed. Remember, it's the first 2 past the line, or else you'll find yourself moving elsewhere. As Purity Kirui moves forward, but just take a look at the surge as they make their way towards the line. Winnie Chebet, he's going to be taking this. Edna Jebitok trying to hold on to second. Purity Kirui is there. And she stops the clock, 4:11.20. Winnie Chebet, and her season's best from the Birmingham DL, that was 4:05.56. Edna Jebitok third, and Brenda and Purity Chepkirui also, who won a silver at the African Championships, finishing third. So already we can have a feel of who's going to be in the Commonwealth Games team and the World Championships team, joining Faith Kipyegon. By virtue of Kenya not having a defending champion, that means they field 3, but Faith's got that Diamond League wildcard. That was not here. But those are the top 3, Chebet, Chepkirui, and Jebitok.
Yeah, and give it to Chepitog, because she was able to, to make it, especially being the first, not actually the first, she took the lead from the beginning, meaning, she was all in control. She became a pace setter and still being able to manage to become number 3. And I think, these athletes, they are very ready. I think we have a very impressive team, Wahome, if I may say so.
And you'll see that all these athletes, the top 3 there, as right now, the race winner, Winnie Chebet, is now speaking with Isaac Lemoka.
Ulikimbia 4:02, leo umekimbia 4:11. Kipi kilibadilika?
Yeah, because of weather and previous some weeks I was up a fever, but after that I thank God.
Yeah, tukienda Oregon tutarejea nini kutoka kwako?
And it was just at the point at which the cloud cover moving away, it's getting a little bit sunny and everything beginning to look good for most of these athletes, because now they can stay warm. And how the warm-up works and is sustained, we've seen at times, people like the great David Rudisha, the one who took over the ideally the 800 for you and made sure that it stayed consistent, such that since 2008 we haven't lost that. But how does that warm-up work in cold weather, such that you still stay warm in race, in the proper racing conditions?
Yeah, I think what is very important is that when you see these athletes before they go to the cold room, they are always remain in their tracksuit, because you have got to keep your body warm. Actually, in most cases, if you look at the international races, and it has changed though right now. that initially all athletes must remain warm until the last minute. But again, nowadays, they leave the tracksuits and everything that they are using behind there before they come to the track. And for them, it's very important for these athletes to be able to be in a warm condition, because otherwise, in the other case, they got affected so much, Wahome, because every athlete must remain, and especially for the sprinters, you don't want to get cold. For the long distance runners, there's no problem, because the pace is not so fast. But for 1500 meters to the sprints, they must remain very warm. When you talk about the importance of an athlete remaining warm.
Well, and talking about such things, everyone can remember in London 2017, Usain Bolt trying to do the anchor leg, but everything just went, wrong for him, because they were held for so long. And you could hear the Jamaicans complaining about, how long the amount of time that they spent in the cold room, such that the body, they had to look for ways to stay warm. You've got your running spikes.
Yeah, that is why it is very important to put the times, because the time that you go for your warm-up to the time that you are competing, you have already conditioned your body to that situation whereby that I've got 30 minutes before I go to run. But here you come sometimes, because of the technicalities, maybe the clocks is not working, maybe something has happened, and therefore you give an athlete for a very long time. And I can tell you, for those athletes who have prepared mentally, when something like that happens, it affects their performance. We have seen a situation whereby an athlete who was ready to be able maybe to medal, for example, doesn't. And when you hear them after the event, they say that there was this a problem, because we have got to remember that athletics and any sports person has become professional. It has become conditioned to an extent that you must be very ready at certain time. Let's talk, for example, here, most of these athletes, they came here, they know that I was running at 1:30, and they have to be able to run at 1:30, because you have started warming up. You cannot do warm up twice. You can only go once. You have 15 minutes to be able to compete, and it's very important to maintain that.
Well, Wilfred Bungei with us here, and the next race is starting in about 13 minutes, and that's going to be the women's 10,000 meters. Change of plan. The men's race was to be today, but change of plan from AK at that point, which meant that now it's going to be the women's 10,000 meters. And one of the names included, and we'd like to see her, is Helen Obiri, opting to go to the roads and finish fourth at the Olympic Games in the 10,000 meters. We've got, looking at this race, can we have a direct successor to Vivian Cheruiyot?
Well, you talk of Helen Obiri, this is one of the Kenyan athletes who have been very consistent for a very long time, the likes of Vivian Cheruiyot. Of late, we know majority of the Kenyan athletes who are running 10,000, they shift to most of them to road races, because again, when you look at the circuit Wahome, we have very few races out there in the World Championships, in the circuit, when it is the Diamond League, when it is the Continental Tour, we have got very few races of 10,000. What does an athlete who has taken profession as an athlete do when he has got only one or two competitions in a year? Definitely they will be forced to move to maybe road races, cross-country races, marathon. But what I would like to see is that, Kenyan athletes who are doing the 5,000, the 10,000, let them just find any other thing that they can be able to do in between, so that they don't exhaust themselves or they don't push themselves to run 10,000. Again, we have got to find incentives that the country can be able to give these athletes, because compared to 800 meters, 3,000 steeplechases, an athlete can be able to do 10, 20 races in a year, but for 10,000, you may do only 2 races. And if you have taken it as a profession, it cannot sustain you.
Well, and talking about some of those events that were out there, let's talk also about somebody else. Margaret Chelimo Kipkemboi clocking a personal best of 30:45, and this was at the Fanny Blankers-Koen Games in Hengelo. Hengelo's that event basically serves as the Ethiopian trials, and so it was twofold. The Ethiopian trials won by Letesenbet Gide, 30 minutes 44.27 seconds, and Ejgayehu Taye 30:44.68, with Margaret Chelimo taking 30 minutes 45 flat. What would that time indicate in terms of quality?
Well, I think even before we mentioned at the time that she was able to run, let's mention the fact that Hengelo has always been set, as you rightly said, for the Ethiopians. But again, for a Kenyan to have a chance to run there, you know very well that whoever is number 1, number 2, number 3 of the Ethiopians that will be picked there, you have a chance to be able to compete with them. You will see what they are doing. So I think, as we earlier said, because for a very long time, Ethiopian athletes were always watching after Vivian Cheriot, they were watching after Olen Obiri, because they did not know what kind of shape they were in. Now, with our new kid on the block, then I can assure you that for her, she has a very good chance going to the World Championships. Let's hope that she's going to win here. However, whether she wins or she doesn't win, she has a qualifying time. She's one of the best that we have. And I think something worth mentioning, Wahome, is that Athletics Kenya, for example, should be able to develop those athletes, whom we can have every now and then going to the championships, especially to give them wild card. Of course, myself, I was not so much of an advocate of a wild card, but again, when you have these athletes who has a very good experience, they have been able to compete with these Ethiopians, Ugandans at the moment they have come, because psychologically for those that you are going to compete with them, they know very well so and so is there. But when you have a new athlete, they will be like, okay, we do not know so and so, so we may be able to smash them in that case and be able to intimidate them. Let me use that word. And that is why it's very important. When you have an athlete who has been able to compete in so many races, let them have a chance to run in the World Championships, especially when it comes to the 5,000, 10,000 meters.
Well, and talking about this, about the women's 10,000 meters, just an outlook of what the world's top times are. Elise Crenny from the United States, 30 minutes, 14.66 seconds. That is the fastest time in the world this year. Elish McColgan, and this was at the FBK Games in Hengelo, with a very interesting run, breaking her mom's record, British record, 30 minutes, 19.02. Let us embed Gide, 30 minutes, 44.27. Taye with 30 minutes, 44.68. And that puts Margaret Chelimo fifth all-time. Fifth on the top list in the year so far. And we also know that Nairobi is a place that, when it comes to the 10K, it's a place that can actually drain you. And we've also seen, athletes suffer a lot of dehydration at times when, it was quite hot at the trials and they were held in the morning session, unlike now, when we shall see the event taking place 7 minutes from now. How should you maintain that body, strength over 25 laps on a track that, even radiates some of the heat that's landing on it?
Well, mentioning about the 10,000, I think I have a lot of respect, especially for these athletes who run 10,000. Today we are lucky, or at least, these athletes are going to be very lucky that they are going to compete with this kind of weather, because you can imagine if it was going to be hot, because what happened is when an athlete goes to the stadium, it is hot, it is high altitude, it really drains you. And that's why in most of the races, if you have watched during the World Championships, they have now started giving water the athletes so that they can be able to hydrate. Unlike before, an athlete would just have to run. And I can tell you, Wahome, that most of the time, if you compete and then you are dehydrated towards the end, you will see some athletes passing you because it takes a toll on your body. And I think today I have not seen any water setup for the 10,000, so that means the athletes must have hydrated well. That is something very important, because if you don't, then I can tell you can be ready for the trials, but you end up paying because of dehydration. And something else that you just mentioned before again, you were talking about the Americans, the Britons. Let me tell you, at the moment, the 10,000, especially for the women, I've seen so many European athletes, American athletes who are starting to compete very well. They are actually, I would say that they are running very good when it comes to the championships, because in the past championships they used to be dominated by the East Africans, but if you look at the moment, it's beginning to have more of the European athletes. And I think they have started, because remember that in Kenya, for example, we have got so many athletes who come from outside to come and train with us. That way, it does. I've always said they pick, some of the strengths that we have had for a very long time. And having these athletes coming to train with us, they learn a lot about us. And I think on the track, already we have the 10,000 women. are getting ready. Some of them still making some warm-up for them to start the trials and being able to make the team for the Oregon and the Commonwealth Games.
Well, let's take a look at the start list. It's thin. Helen Obiri, she is here. She's a world cross-country champion from 2019. Aarhus, Denmark is where she won it. Margaret Chelimo's got to be here. And Gloria Kite, coming in as an individual. Sandra Felix Tibet, Pauline Kuyang from the KDF. They're all warming up, and this is a lean field, as you can see, as they all move towards the start line. And they will be all set up. Just taking at it, Irene Cheptai is also one of those who is going to be running. We've got Dorcas Kimeli. Kimeli is going to be running. Margaret and Caroline Nyaga, she is at the extreme left of your picture. She is the African champion, having won that event in Mauritius and coming back actually, and she also won a bronze in 3,000 meters. We've got Irene Kamais. She's also in that. She's also going to be running here.
Yeah, again, remember that I think most of our viewers would be asking themselves, why are we having very few 10,000 meters athletes? Whenever we have trials, we have got so many. But this is an invite only event, meaning the athletes who are competing here are those ones that have a qualification mark for them to be able to represent this country. And that is why, it makes the event very competitive, because they have got to pick probably number 1 to number 6 for the World Championships and the Commonwealth Games. And if you can see, for the 10,000 for the first time, we have got about 9-10 athletes going to compete today during these trials. And I think, something very important and very impressive is that we have Helen Obiri, the legend, the most consistent athlete. Few days ago, she had said that, she wants to move to the marathon, but it's very impressive. I think probably, again, if you watch the athletes who have been competing there and you see there is a chance for you to still maybe be able to run for the country, then why not, Wahome?
Representing the country. And for Helen Obiri, Kenya Defence Forces, member of the Kenya Defence Forces, definitely serving the nation is something that's up there. Also an athlete representative and within the National Olympic Committee of Kenya, and she's going to be leading the delegation to the Africa Youth Games. So a lot going for her. So we can see Kima is also in that starting lineup, and just looking at this field of just about 9 athletes, 25 laps on the track at this place, and the time that is required for World Championship qualification is 31 minutes 25 seconds, and just by the look of it, athletes who have met this time are all there. So we're just about to have the start of the women's 5,000 meters, 10,000 meters. And by the way, there is a Tanzanian, Magdalena Shauri. She's the one who's just behind Helen Obiri as we wait for the start of this race. You'd think it's an 800-meter race. The numbers are so few, everyone can start on their own lane.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting that, because always we know 10,000, 5,000, we always have, because I remember some time back, during the trials, the Kenyan trials, you would always have even 2 hits. And that's why we had the event, going for 2 or 3 days, sometime. But again, you train those athletes, and especially Wahome, something that I wanted to mention is that for these athletes, those who are running 10,000, it's very important for them to come just run one event, because we know very well that when they go out there to compete, they don't need to have competed so many races. And if you run in the trials and run, so twice, definitely you will not have energy to go into the trials. That is the beginning of the 10,000 meters.
Well, a start list to give you again. 25 laps around this track. Helen Obiri is going to be there. Irene Kimais, Daisy Cherotich, Irene Cheptai, Gloria Kite, Margaret Chelimo, Pauline Kuyang, Caroline Nyaga, and Magdalena Shauri from Tanzania. And they are starting off with a trot that is just all out there. So 25 laps of this track is what we're going to be taking a look at, and I think just by the start we can tell the time will be something different. But right now, Wilfred, we'll be taking a break, and we'll be hearing from Athletics Kenya Executive Committee member. He is Barnaba Korir, and behind this event, and he's going to be in conversation with Isaac Lemoka. So as you take a look at the pictures, let's move over to Isaac Lemoka, who's trackside, as he speaks with Barnaba Korir.
Him to represent the country. I'm on air. Well, it is the 10,000 meters for women right here at the Moi Sports Center, Kasarani, as Athletics Kenya is set to send a formidable team to represent the country at the World Athletics Championships in the USA, Oregon, and thereafter to represent the country also in the Commonwealth Games that will take place later on in UK, Birmingham. And with me right now, it is the Athletics Kenya chairman, Nairobi branch, who is also the youth development and executive member of Athletics Kenya, Mr. Barnabas Korir. A very warm welcome, Mr. Korir.
Thank you very much.
The trials have started in earnest at 1 p.m. today. What should we expect?
Yes, the trials have started. You know, this time we are selecting two teams. One will go to World Championship in Eugene, Oregon, and then, of course, the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham. We will select one team that will double up. We have already talked to the athletes to ensure that whoever we choose for World Championship will also run in Commonwealth. At the moment, we have run the 5,000 meters. It was very, very exciting. We have the two athletes that we will expect them to do well, and they did extremely well. Kimeli, Michael, and of course Kirob. Both of them are for the fastest time this year, which they ran in Rome, Italy, a few weeks ago. And this is something that it was beyond our expectation. We were afraid that we might not get the strong athletes for 5,000. We have had try season in having the athletes that will do well in 5, but this is now hope that there is a big likelihood that we will do something fantastic in both events. So we are very happy in the 5,000 meters. It went as expected, and although we have Cornelius Kimboy also coming third, very close, and the time was very fast, 13:01 high altitude. That means if we run that same event outside this country, that will translate to around 12:20, 12:25, which means almost a world record. So this is very good, and I'm sure that we still have to see a lot of very interesting times ahead. And secondly, we had also Winnie Chebet in the 1,500 meters, although we did not run Faith Kimngetich, who is going to run the 800 meters for the women. We are hoping that she can consider doubling 1,500 and 800 meters, that is Faith, and that they will also be joined by Chebitok and Winnie. That, I think, will give us an opportunity now to have at least two athletes in the 800 meters, because Mora alone has qualified for 800 meters. Chebitok and Winnie and Faith Kimngetich has qualified in the 1,500 meters. So we have hope, and I'm sure that this country will still see some very good times ahead.
Athletics Kenya put it clear that the criteria of selecting athletes is the top two finishers. Then the third one will be selected via Athletics Kenya panel. How is this?
Yes, we have done that for several times, and the reasons is that sometimes we have an athlete that might have a difficult moment during the competition, and that person could also have a chance of winning a medal. The consideration is that we want to do the best for the country and also for the athletes, so we give that opportunity, but it's not necessarily that we stick to that completely. If we have 1, 2, 3 and we feel that the 3 of them will go, they will definitely go. So those are one of the conditions. However, there are other considerations also. because Kenya is under watch list, which is category A. We have also stringent regulations from World Athletics that employs the federation to ensure that each athlete that will be competing, especially during the World Championship, that they must have undergone 3 out of competition tests, and then of course 1 in competition. That makes 4. So that is one of the reasons why this event is different. We only had invited athletes who have met those conditions, and that's why we are ready to stick to that.
And let's talk about the COVID-19 pandemic. We've seen the Ministry of Health saying the COVID-19 cases is on the rise here in the country. As Athletics Kenya, what are some of the measures that you're taking to make sure that our athletes, when they go outside, they are safe and they're able to compete?
Yes, in fact, me and you, we should have also stuck with those rules because we were expected to put on the mask. Of course, we didn't do that, although you have and I have. But however, Athletics Kenya will ensure that the athletes also will be protected. They have also the stringent measures that will be taken during the training. They'll follow those rules, the measures which has been established by the government. And we will also try to follow what we did during the Olympics last year to make sure our athletes are protected. Even here, we have also told the press, the media, to ensure that when they're interviewing the athletes, they stay at a distance to protect them because they are vulnerable now after competition. We want to make sure that the media and anybody who is close to those athletes to give them space so that we ensure that they don't get sick and protect them until they finish their competition.
As Athletics Kenya, do you have any challenges concerning doping, and if there are cases like so, how have you managed to tackle those cases?
Athletics Kenya and ADAC plus AIU has tried everything possible to ensure that we follow and try to eradicate this problem. It's a challenge, it's a major challenge because once in a while you find that some of the athletes test positive. This, however, is because of the fact that the measures of testing also has been upgraded, and that's why most of them have been found. But it is really a big challenge, and we need to talk to our people, to our athletes, and everybody in this country also to start fighting this menace because we cannot continue being on our watch list for all that period. I mean, it's too long that we have to continue being like that. So we need to do something. We want also the press to start educating, talking to the athletes. We want Kenyans to talk about it. We want everybody to condemn these fights. We want also to tell that it's a senior athletes to talk about it. We want to eradicate this thing because we are tired of this issue, and it's just a few athletes who are messing up everything, so that we can be removed from this watch list, which has really messed us up. But however, the federation and the government, plus also AIU, we are working in conjunction together and providing education to those innocent athletes so that they are not affected. Those few athletes who mess up will give also major problems to upcoming athletes and also the future of sports in this country, especially athletics.
Are we anywhere near to be removed from the watch list, the A list from?
We were hoping last year that we will be removed. The problem, though, is that there are few measures that we have to make sure that the program we have put in place will be continuous. It is not just to start also to be removed. They want the system that will be continuous, even after us being removed, and then it will continue throughout to provide education and to support also ADAC and other institutions that have been put in place to fight the doping. So it is a measure that has to continue. It's a program that must be continuous for the foreseeable future.
Now, you've talked about Winnie Chebet, Akina Krop, and Kimeli as well. What would you say about the 10,000 meters for women, which is going on right now?
The 10,000 meters, which is going on, is, we have also athletes. I don't think the top athletes are there. We have a few young athletes that are coming up also. But we hope that they run. Most of those who are running now have already qualified. And people like Obiri, hopefully Obiri can take up the mantle. And, we have Peter Chebet and we have Chilimo. And others who are there. But we believe that the moment they are selected, and then they'll focus on training and see what we can do during the championship.
Before I let you go, would you kindly just tell us what are the plans just after the trials?
Immediately the team is selected. We have now to work closely with NOC, because we will have at least one singular team that will be representing both. So we have already planned, and they will report immediately to the camp, because we have issues of visas, and the time is very short, about 2 weeks to get the visas through America and also the British, which is very difficult. So that is from tomorrow, or Sunday, to be precise, is we start now filing the papers, so that next week they apply for the visas, and we'll try to fast track with the embassy and to see whether we can get it as soon as possible, because we have to apply for both the US and the British visas.
Now, finally, now that you're concerned with youth development, what are the plans as we go to Cali, Colombia?
As soon as we finish this, we have already started planning for next week. We have our trials on Friday and Saturday, and we have continued organizing the camps. You are aware that we have already done the pre-trials. We are ahead. We have already a program for next week. In fact, it's in my hand now for next week. So we are sure that we want to defend the title in Cali, and we have a very strong team. So next week is a special day for you also to come and interview and see the strong team that will win during the...
Your words for Kenyans?
Yes.
Your words for Kenyans?
Kenyans, you should wish our athletes and make sure that you give them support. Our athletes need support. Make sure that you follow what they are doing, give them the necessary support, talk to them, encourage them, but please don't condemn them when they fail.
Well said. Thank you so much, Bwana Korir. That is none other than Mr. Barnabas Korir, the chairman Nairobi branch, AK chairman Nairobi branch, just speaking to us concerning the entire event, the trials and the plans they have for Team Kenya. And right now I also have one of the host broadcasters as well, and of course kindly the trials have started, and we've seen we've seen athletes taking their places, number 1 and 2. Are you comfortable with the people who've done it today?
Well, Lemeka, let me put it this way, that, as one of the athletes who have represented this country for so long, in 800 meters, coming to the trials, most of these athletes, they have got to be ready, because we always know that when it comes to the Kenyan trials, it is full of surprises. We have athletes who have come here, they are very much ready, but when it comes to the actual event, most of the time, they end up not actually being, I would say, doing very well, and that is why, the Kenyan trials always is 1, 2, 3 across the line. But again, I think looking at the quality today, sitting behind there with my friend Bahome, doing the commentating for our viewers, the event is already showing that, it's actually coming up very well. We have very good times that they have been posted by the athletes, meaning they are ready for this event.
Bugay, you're one of the stars as far as the 800 meters is concerned. What should we expect when our boys take on the field tomorrow?
Well, I would say this, that most of these athletes, they know very well that they have got to be ready for the trials, and especially if they want to represent, because remember that every professional athlete would like to represent the country, would like to run during the World Championships, the Commonwealth Games, the Olympic Games, and the only way for you to have that chance is by running the trials, by making sure that you win, by making sure that at least you are among the top 3 for you to be able to represent. And as I said earlier, these athletes, they seem to be very ready. If you look at the times, I think we have a very big chance. I've watched, for example, the 1500 meters, the 5,000, the 10,000 that is going on right now. If you look at those athletes, for a very long time, it has eluded us as Kenyans for the distance running, because we have the Ethiopians, but it has proven at the moment now that they are actually very ready. We have prospect of getting medals in the long distance that has eluded that for a very long time.
Lastly, Bungei, what is the trick for one to be able to emerge victorious in 800 meters?
Well, I would say for the 800 meters, most of the athletes, they always make mistakes whereby you can easily be boxed in. Sometimes, if you look at the athletes who have won the Olympics, starting with myself in 2008, Rudisha, you must run in the front. And for anyone to be able to win the 800 meters, you must make sure that you are at the right place at the right time, and that is towards the finals. It's very important.
Your word for to athletes who will be representing Kenya?
Well, I think, mine is to say all the best. Make sure that you're ready, going to Eugene. Remember that the 50 million Kenyans are watching after you. They expect medals because we know that this is a powerhouse in athletics, and therefore most of the Kenyans will be glued on their TV to make sure that the results that they have is what they always expect.
Thank you so much. Wilfred Bungei, they are one of the celebrated 800 meters Kenyan athletes, talking to us right here on KBC Channel 1. From Kasarani, we still here. The 10,000 meters for the ladies, women is underway, and we are still here. We'll get to know who will represent the country in the 10,000 meters women. Back to you, Wahome.
Trials at this amazing Kasarani Stadium.
Yuko pale Mtanzania kule nyuma, Magdalena Shauri. She's doing great. If you can recall the great runners from Tanzania, right away if you can talk about the great runners from Tanzania. Hellen Obiri now taking the lead. Caroline Nyaga now taking the second spot. Irene Cheptai, Margaret Chelimo.
Thank you very much, Isaac Lemoka. And he was speaking with Wilfred Bungei, who's my commentator, who's going to be joining me just soon, and also with Barnaba Korir. And we're in the women's 5,000 meters. We've got just about the 12 laps to go halfway down, 17 minutes 20 on the clock. And up the front, Hellen Obiri has picked up the pace. It started a little bit slow. Irene Cheptai just close by, and African champion in the 10,000 meters, Caroline Nyaga, is amongst those in the fray. And it is now all about or die. So looking at the pace that we have, we could be looking at a 33-34 minute race. At the moment, Margaret Chelimo also there. Margaret Chelimo, 5th fastest in the world this year. And Hellen Obiri, who's at the front, she's got a 64.05 half marathon time. As we can see also, Irene Kamais is in that fray. They at one point were in a single file. So we also have got Pauline Young also there. Hellen Obiri there now. Another 11 more laps to go. But just take a look at the quality that is up there. Sheila Chepkirui also in the fray for this one. They're now down to 6. And you know what Wilfred was saying, that if it comes down to this, they already know that it looks like from this pack, it's only the placings that would determine who goes to Birmingham and who goes to Eugene.
Is that Caroline Nyaga, who is an African champion, she's training in Meru. She said that something that impresses me. She mentioned that she would like to continue training in Meru so that she can be able to inspire the others. It's so impressive. It's something that it touched me. And for once, she mentioned that she doesn't have any sponsor at the moment. But one thing that I'm 100% sure, after this event, after representing the country, either in the World Championships or the Commonwealth Games, she will definitely get that. And then give it to Hellen Obiri, who had already announced that she was going to run the marathon. But she has decided, I think, as a professional athlete, sometimes you want to move to maybe a longer distance. For example, when she said that she wanted to move to the marathon, and when you see that, there is a high chance for you to still be able to represent the country, then you just come. And I think, with this race, we have 6 athletes being in front there, the same athletes, that we have. I can say, looking at the event, it is anybody's race when it comes to athletes being in the same pack for a very long time. Remember, and as you mentioned earlier, that they started on a slow base, but right now they have really actually increased the base.
Well, and so you've got Hellen Sheila Chepkirui has now taken the lead, and remember they've got 9.5 laps to go. And remember, for these athletes who are at the front, Helen Obiri, 30:24.27. That's a time that is inside 31:25 for the qualifying. Irene Kamais has got a 30:37. Irene Cheptai has got a 30:44. Margaret Chelimo has got a 30:45, fifth fastest in the world. Brilliant Chepkorir outside of the times. And together, remember, there's still a Tanzanian, Magdalena Shauri, who could be on for the club games. And at the moment, it's Sheila Chepkirui who's at the front. 9 laps to go. 3,600 meters. And yes, you mentioned about Caroline Nyaga and Meru. And for those who are watching us online, just to give you the geographical position of Meru, it's on the eastern side of Mount Kenya. And just slightly south of the equator, the Meru town. And if you just take as the crow flies, same line as Eldoret, Iten.
Absolutely, and that is why I think, I had in one of the interviews recently, she said that she likes it there. It's, as you rightly said, they have the right altitude. I've always said that, these athletes, you do not need necessarily, you don't need to necessarily go to maybe Iten, Kapsabet, or another place. But sometimes when you train where you are born, you have a bigger advantage, because when you run Wahome on certain route, you know what time did you run today. When you repeat on the next day, you will understand whether you are improving or not. And I think, for today's event, especially for the 10,000 women, I am not expecting Wahome, to have fast times because of the slow pace that they started in the beginning. But then definitely, it's going to give a very good chance for anyone who wins this race must be a quick finisher that way. And I think, someone like Obiri, she has always proven that she's very good at the finish line.
And remember that when it comes to the 10,000 meters, there is Sifan Hassan, who is an athlete of outstanding pedigree. You've got to love her quality. The fact that she can do the 10K, the 5K, and 15K and the 1500 in one championship is something that does stand out anytime. 22:53 on the clock as they now have got 7.5 laps to go. That is, that means they've got to go that. When you just count 7.5 laps, it's about 3 kilometers to go. And counting down, it will now be 2,800 meters. And there is another change at the front. Margaret Chelimo hits the front, but look at Irene Cheptai having to go around Obiri trying to stay with that leading pack. This is turning out to be a very big battle as we see Chepkirui, who's just pulling back now, saying, look, I've got to fit in, and almost touching each other, asking each other to slow.
Yeah, and I think, you mentioning Sifa Hassan, the Ethiopian who turned Norwegian or Swedish. I think she's a Swedish.
She's Dutch.
Yeah, she's turned Dutch. As I said earlier, when you meet these athletes, they know Ellen Obiri is coming from Kenya. She knows that she's one of the best athletes. And sometimes, having those athletes who are very consistent, who have been always there, they will always give those our own competitors, from other countries, that we still have our own. But again, it's sometimes very important when we develop also athletes who can be able to take over. As you said, Irene Cheptai, Kamais, all these athletes, they have a very good chance. They have very good times. They may not have enough competitions, for them to be able to compete before going to the championships. But again, for 10,000, it gives you sometimes it gives you an advantage, sometimes it is a disadvantage. It gives you an advantage in the sense that when you compete more, you are in a competition mode. When you don't compete much, you do not know what is the position. But again, when it comes for those athletes who have been consistent for so many years, running less races gives them an advantage that they are more powerful during the competitions. And I think that is something very important to be able to mention. And I think as we all watch, again, still we have 6 athletes still in contention for this position of representing the country in the championships and the Commonwealth Games. And I think, with all of them, the 6 of them already who are in front, definitely have a chance either to be in Birmingham or to be in Eugene.
And talking about the 10,000 meters, it brings out one story that shocked the country. The bronze medalist from 2019 was the late Agnes Jebet Tirop, and we've seen Mary Kaitani, who holds the women's only world record, who has been pushing for Tirop's Angels, and she really would love to see this. Look at Irene Cheptai now, as they've got 2,000 meters to go. The time on the clock at the moment is 25:48 on the clock. So back to the Agnes Tirop story. She clocked a personal best time then of 30 minutes 25.2 seconds behind Sifan Hassan, who then won the event in 30 minutes 17.62 seconds, and Letesenbet Gide 30 minutes 21.23. Letesenbet Gide, Sifan Hassan, two of the athletes that the Kenyans will be facing when they go to Eugene, Oregon, when it comes to the 10,000 meters. Because all you need to do is take a look at what happened at the FBK Games. Letesenbet Gide being one of those who made it through to that event. As we see Margaret Shauri going round. She's one of the tail enders running here, getting that exposure and that opportunity. There's a club games for Tanzania, the Commonwealth Games, and also this. As we see, Sheila Chepkirui again now has hit the front, and Irene Cheptai is behind her. Obiri is the other athlete, and now they will have 1 mile to go as they go past that finish line, still huddled together. And right at the back is the African champion, Caroline Nyaga. And if you just take a look back at the way she managed that race, and with 2 laps to go, simply hit the front and took a kick that at times, would make you think, I have seen that with Kenenisa Bekele, I have seen that with Haile Gebrselassie, I've seen that with Isihin. It's something that the Ethiopians have always had. What's so important about that finishing kick in the 5K and in the 10K?
Yeah, I think you have mentioned something very important, especially for our viewers. Actually, they always know that the Ethiopians are very good. I think we have had very few Kenyan athletes who are very good at the kick. That is Eliud Kipchoge, Benjamin Limo were the only athletes that we have had, and even Vivian Jeriot in the long distance for the women. It has got a lot of advantage because you can be able to sit back, make the other athletes being able to pace for you. As we have seen in the races that has already been concluded, we have athletes who are pacing in the front there, and at the end of the day, they are just waiting. If you look at this, and I think for Caroline Nyaga, she's very good. I hope that she can be able to practice that to understand that I can be able to give the pace, but at least I still have the kick. That is something very important. And I think, as we can see, Yohome, and especially in our screens, we have currently 5 athletes, that are in front. Again, among the 5, it can be anybody's race because of the slow of the start of this competition. They started very quick. Those athletes who cannot be able to give the pace, would have already dropped out. But when you make the race slow, then you make that race, to become anybody's. And I think, what I've noticed again, especially for our viewers, I've noticed in this competition, there's a lot of fat leg. And what it means, fat leg, you have a quick and then you slow it, you make it quick, you slow it. It is a tactical way of making your opponents, tire. And I think that is what we have been able. If you can look at the moment, they are a little bit slowing. And initially, they had made it a little bit fast. And that is why you see they allowed those athletes who are behind to be able for them to catch up. You see already Caroline Nyaga, she's picking up. Already she had been dropped. But because of that slowness that we see here, it has allowed everybody to be able to be in front there.
Well, they will have 2 laps to go, 800 meters as Cheptai just takes one look over her shoulder. Helen Obiri is close by. Sheila Chepkirui not closing, not there, as we see Caroline Nyaga holding out. There are 5 at the front, and now they have got 700 meters to go. Whoever's got the kick, remember Helen Obiri, she started off as a person who could run the 800 meters or the 1500 meters very well, and that's why she's got one explosive kick, always exhibited what the coaches call muscle memory, when it's that moment when you've got to take off. So at the moment, with 600 meters to go, it's Irene Cheptai and Helen Obiri there is going to be a battle here for the slots for Eugene, Oregon. And remember that the Commonwealth Games and the World Championships will be live on KBC Channel 1. The World Championships from the 15th of July to the 24th of July. Yeah, and then we shall also have the Commonwealth Games from the 28th of July to the 8th of August. And now they're headed to the bell, and it's this 5. Helen Obiri at the front, Cheptai with her, Margaret Chelimo so close to her. Who's going to, as the bell goes, who's going to pull off the biggest kick? This is now going to be explosive as everyone has all their eyes. Cheptai is at the front, Obiri just close by. 300 meters to go. The African champion Caroline Nyaga has been dropped. She's in 6th place. It's going to be hard for her to catch up with the rest. And it's now Helen Obiri and Cheptai. They picked up the pace. Cheptai holds back. 250 meters to go. Helen Obiri pulls off. But just take a look at this. Who's got a kick? They've been running for 9,800 meters. Helen Obiri hits the front. Look at the arm movement. Everyone is there as they take that bend. Just take a look at the 4. Irene Cheptai has dropped to 4th. Long time race leader. Take a look at Margaret Chelimo just behind her. And it's now Helen Obiri. Look at this. And look at Shula Chepkirui trying to go on the outside. Chelimo is there. Helen Obiri holds on. And this, as the back markers are there. But take a look at this. Helen Obiri finishing in 31 minutes, 49.55 seconds.
Wow, what a finish from Helen Obiri. You know, after announcing that she was going to go to the marathon, she can still be the queen of the track. And I think 31:49 is still a very fast time in altitude. I can say that, because what I'm really impressed is that despite the fact that, you know, they started very slow, they have been able to still post a very good time. Meaning, had they started a little bit faster, they would have done about 30. For me, my expectation initially was that, you know, they were going to run maybe 32 minutes. But again, you know, they have been able to pull up in the last halfway, you know, in the last 12 laps. And that's why they have been able to impress. Again, if you watch just the replay, it's all about who has the last kick and that can be able to make it. And I think the Ethiopians are definitely watching. Our competitors, you know, the Europeans, the Americans, the East Africans, you know, they are watching the Kenyan trials, because we always know when it comes to the Kenyan trials, the whole world is watching.
Well, and there she is, Helen Obiri, winning time, 31 minutes, 49.55 seconds. Shula Chepkirui taking 2nd place. And 3rd place, going to Margaret Chelimo. And now let us go down to the mix zone. Isaac Lemoka is there.
Yeah, because both of us we are strong. So, kicking daily more.
Tukienda Oregon, matarajio yako? Oregon, matarajio yako?
Oregon natumai tunapata medali. Yeah.
Asante sana. Helen Obiri, mshindi wa mbio hizi za mita 10,000. Congratulations sana Helen.
Thank you so much.
Helen, tuanze, ulikuwa umesema kwamba unaachana na hizi mbio na unaingia road races.
Yeah.
What happened?
Sometimes nimeona ni vizuri at least kuja kupata the upcoming. Hiyo motivation wakiona Helen ako hapa, huwa wanasiona vizuri. So nimesema sababu ya speed, huwa naenda road races, sometimes I need speed. So nimekuja at least nione fanya mwili iko.
Yeah. Japo uko na wild card. Je, utakimbia Oregon na bado utakimbia mashindano ya Jumuiya Madola Commonwealth?
Sometimes because it's just train vizuri for road races, mwaka for track. So I'm yet to decide, but tukiingia training camp, the coaches are there. They will see what's good for me. Yeah.
Mashindano leo umeyaonaje?
Imekuwa ni challenge kubwa despite the weather. The weather was just challenging na ladies were very strong. So kushinda kwangu at least inanipatia hopes in future.
Oregon tutaraji nini?
At least tukiona tukona at least tukasema like we are wrong to win. Kuna upishani mkali. So it's us Kenyans to work extra hard at least to match na Ethiopians. But so far niko na hopes in Kenya team. Yes.
Labda wasiwasi yako tukielekea huko itakuwa ni ipi?
Tuko na so far watu watakimbia then sometimes vizuri sana kulingana na last year.
Ndio.
So for me huwa nasema nikienda races I'm going to do my best, and if I get a chance to go there I'm going to give out my best. Yeah.
Speak to Kenyans then.
Ile kitu ningeambia wa Kenya, at least watupatie ile support from the government na from Kenya mzima, and tuende kukimbia vizuri, hatutaweza kuwa let down, na watuombee sababu it's less than a month to go.
Shukran sana.
Thank you.
Huyu ni Hellen Obiri, mshindi wa mita 10,000 kwa wanawake, akizungumza nasi hapa KBC. Shukran sana Hellen Obiri, na kurudisha kwako Daniel Wahome. Tunatarajia mbio za mita 1,300 kuruka viunzi na kidimbwi cha maji, alafu kisha baadaye mita 800 na mita 400 kwa wanawake.
Thank you very much, Isaac Lemoka, speaking with Hellen Obiri and Margaret Chelimo, the athletes. And here are the times: 31:49.55 the winning time for Hellen Obiri, 31:50 for 0.194 Sheila Chepkirui, and Margaret Chelimo 31:50.22. It was at close. Irene Cheptai 31 minutes 52.03. And Wilfred, your general analysis of, just a recap of how you found this race, because Hellen Obiri has got the fastest time at altitude, 30:53. Irene Cheptai at altitude has run 31:06, and we've Sheila Chelangat 31.10, Nancy Koech 31.11. How would these athletes now prepare for the World Championships, which are 21 days away?
Well, I think first and foremost, these athletes, they don't need to compete any other competition out there. We know that in between now we have the Diamond League that is going on. And I think for them, especially having run this kind of time, in altitude today, they have got only 3 weeks. And I think Athletics Kenya, most of the time, once you have come to the trials, we know that this time around, they postpone the trials, unlike before when they were supposed to have done it almost a month and a half before. Definitely, those athletes, would have been forced to compete in a few races, because as I said earlier, it's very important to be in a competitive mood at the time that you are going to run in the championships. And therefore 21 days to go. It's high time they will go for the training camp. They just need to make sure that they sharpen up. Should they choose to run, for example, the 10,000, the 5,000, they can only compete in a lesser race. For example, what I mean is that they can run maybe the 1,500, they can run the 3,000. That would be the only way that they can be able to do. Otherwise, they cannot be able to do another 10,000 before Oregon. It's very important.
That's Captain Fantastic Wilfred Bungei, 800-meter gold medalist from the Beijing Olympics. And the event that we're having next is the men's 3,000 meters steeplechase. Conseslus Kipruto, the defending champion, he won this in Doha 2019. His winning time then was 8 minutes 1.35 seconds. It was a wild lead. And Doha, by the way, looking at how the season goes, is that championships may usually fall around July, August. That's when athletes are at their peak, and it fades away, and then there is a season fading away. But pulling off a wild lead at the tail end of at what was actually the season ender.
Yeah, I agree with you. Most of the championships, is always done in August. For this time around, they have brought it back because to have it in the middle or almost early of August of July is actually going to be very hot for most of these athletes. We know very well that Oregon may not be so hot moving there, so they will not be so much affected. I believe so. But again, when you go to the Commonwealth Games, which will be happening in August, the beauty of it is the Commonwealth Games is going to be done in Birmingham, and we know the weather there is always not so hot. So at least there's a little bit of an advantage there. But otherwise, if it was done in any other European country, I can tell you that it's going to be tough for some of the athletes. But again, we have had Kenyan athletes being able to perform very well. And I think there was something very important to mention, Wahome, is that currently at the moment, these athletes, when they are being put in the training camp, they always check the weather that is going to be there, so that at least they can be able to train while they are in Kenya, almost on the same condition that they are going to be competing.
Well, and there is the start list. Conseslus Kipruto, defending world champion, actually two-time world champion. He's going to be in lane 1. Lane 2, we're going to have Benjamin Keegan, bronze medalist from the Tokyo Olympic Games. We've got Abraham Kibiwot in lane 3, 7th in Doha 2019, and won a bronze medal at the African Championships in Durban 2015. We've got Leonard Bett, so much promise from him, under 18 gold medalist from 2017 and under 20 silver medalist from 2018 in Tampere, Finland. And he can do the discus too. Then we've got Jeffrey Kirwa, that's the other athlete, won a bronze medal at the African Championships in Mauritius, and in that race, and we're going to have a conversation about that. Also in the starting list, we've got Emo Serem. Look out for him, for Emo Serem, 4th at the Nationals, under-20 champion of 2021 at this very stadium, and that was in the year 2021, 7th at the Kip Keino Classic. Amos Kirui, cross-country champion from 2019, Commonwealth Games bronze medalist from 2018, Youth Olympic silver medalist, and he is based in Japan, and he was the under-20 champion from 2016. Lawrence Kipsang, he was at the Doha DL, 8:26.7 was the time. Just some of those names that you need to take a look at. And the conversation at the moment about the steeplechase, and has been a challenge for so many people, is it now belongs to Sofiane El Bakkali. We thought Behdin Benabad was bad, but El Bakkali has taken it over. Things required for a steeplechaser.
Well, I think you're right, because for a very long time, always we know we have a medal when it comes to steeplechase, always, until the time El Bakkali came in and being able to snatch with us. It again, give them so many athletes. If you look at many Ethiopians at the moment, Wahome, is that many Ethiopians are now going into steeplechase because they have been able to master the art of running steeplechase. And it's high time. And I think, for this race, and especially watching Conseslus Kipruto come in to be able to compete here, and being able to compete, hopefully, he's in top form, being able to compete in Oregon, then El Bakkali will understand that my biggest competitor is now back. But you can imagine that when you have these other guys, however, Ben Kiken, Abraham Kibiwot, and Leonard Bett, they have proven to be very good. And I think for these athletes, they need to understand that, this is one of those races that 50 million Kenyans are watching, and they have got to make sure that this time round they cannot give a chance to El Bakkali to be able to win this race. So therefore, let's wait and watch. Let's see how they are going to do. Again, the weather here, it's proofing Wahome, as you have seen, running very good time despite the fact that they're slow in the 10,000 meters and the 5,000 that has already ended. The 1,500 meters is proving to be very fast. Let's hope these guys, they are going to make the race fast, because the weather is favoring them, and at least it can send a message to those guys who are going to be competing with them in the next 3 weeks.
Well, and the person who's joining the group last is Philemon Ruto, 8:22.79 his time. And we've got two athletes running who will be running in Bahrain colors, John Koech and Dennis Sang. So look out for that. The entry standard for the World Championships is 8:22 flat, and that race is going to start in 2 minutes. And a quick look at what to look out for. Sofiane El Bakkali, he's a world leader, 7 minutes 58.28, and that was at the Rabat Diamond League meeting. That was his home DL. Lamecha Girma from Ethiopia in Ostrava at the Golden Spike, 7:58.68. The only 2 sub 8 minute runs so far, and the story at the moment is with few sub 8 minute runners at the moment. How long is Said Shaheen's record going to take before it is taken away?
Well, I think Abraham Gerono proved to be one of the best, as much as he was running for Bahrain, for Qatar, sorry, and given a different name. But if you look at the athletes of late, we don't have anyone who is running so near. And I think Conseslus was one of the athletes whom we had a lot of expectations, to be able to break that world record. Of course, again, with the Ethiopians, now coming in, El Bakkali coming in, if they prepare well, unfortunately for them to be able to break a world record, Wahome, you must be ready. You must get also the right race because it's not every competition that you can be able to break a world record.
Well, and the athletes are ready to go. Conseslus Kipruto, you can see there, well, not steady. Conseslus Kipruto out here. Next to him is Keegan. Benjamin Keegan, he felt the weather in, the crazy weather that was in Mauritius for the African Championships. That was something that stood out. So the athletes trying to keep as warm for as long as they can and waiting for that final track call. And the man that you can see actually walking across there is Coach Leting, and there goes the gun for the 3,000 meters, and hitting the front immediately is Conseslus Kipruto. It is decided that this is going to be a battle, and remember, they will do half a lap before they hit the first hurdle. 7.5 laps on this track right here in Kasarani. This is a trials for the Commonwealth Games and for the World Championships. Wilfred, that starts.
Yeah, that start. That is what I wanted to say. First and foremost, they had a full start, which it doesn't happen in a long distance. But again, I am surprised that these guys are choosing to make the race very quick, because what I'm seeing here is that we are going to have a fast times. Remember that having Conseslus here to compete is making him already to understand that I need to send a message. Because let me tell you, there is one thing that I know: when you're an athlete that have been so absent for a very long time, you want to send a message to your competitors that I am back, and the best thing that you can be able to do is to make sure that you go in front, make the race fast, because we know for Conseslus it is very important that the race does not become very slow but fast.
All right, and also we've, as we see the athletes going after this lap, they will have 6 to go, still put together. And joining us is a man who has paced 7 world records. Martin Kano, he is also, he's been an athlete at the highest level. And the conversation around the steeplechase, Martin, that I want to bring in, it's always been called a combination of 1,500 meter speed and 5,000 meter endurance. You could break that down so that our audience can understand and where our athletes are in terms of where they can run 1,500 or the 5K.
Yes, the 3,000 meter distance is a median event, so you require, like you said, both speed and endurance. It's a very it's not as slow as the 5,000, not as fast as the 1,500. So, and these athletes actually need to possess that speed or 1,500 meter runner to have an advantage. Yes.
And specifically, what are the times you'd be looking at if you were to, if they were to run a 1,500 meter and run a 5,000 meter?
Okay, for those distances, in order to be world class, you have to run under 3 minutes 35 seconds for 1,500 meters and 13 minutes 15 seconds for the 5,000 meters to be truly world class.
And for Kenya to reclaim that glory, because some time back, somebody like Matthew Birer, who's been an Olympic champion from 1992, he used to say, for the steeplechase, we just didn't know the order in which we would finish, but we knew that was a goal. What kind of training regime do the athletes currently have to take up so that they the steeplechase, as they would say, comes back home?
Yes, the steeplechase has evolved over the past few years, where really, in order to be successful, you have to have the speed. So some of these steeplechasers, interesting enough, they have only specialized in the 3,000 distance. But in order to be among the best, as El Bakali has proven, he is a top-class 1,500 meter runner. They need to be able to run faster than 1,500 meters. I don't think any of our athletes in the steeplechase currently have the kind of speed that is necessary to win major championships in this group. Probably the fastest is somebody who's run maybe 3:37, 3:38, and that's Conseslus Kipruto. We have over the last years gotten away with our strength, but the speed is lacking. The speed is truly lacking. If you look at the fast steeplechasers, Moses Kiptanui, if you look at Brimin Kipruto, they all have run under 3 minutes 35 seconds. a current group doesn't have that kind of speed, and that's why possibly the Ethiopians and the Moroccans are beating us.
Well, and that is Bahrainian John Koech, who has dropped out of the race as they now get into single file. And right at the front, we've got Abraham Kibiwot. And just taking a look at him, 2015 African Under-20 champion, and also second in the Rome Diamond League, third in Doha, and won the Kip Keino Classic. So taking a look at somebody like Abraham Kibiwot, a PB of 806, 805, this year still 806. What kind of consistency then is required from this crop?
Yes, okay, there's a lot of consistency that is required to be able to run, in order to factor in any of the major races. You have to be around 805, 806. To be consistent, because now, the Ethiopians and Moroccans are running under 8 minutes. So you have to be closer to 8 minutes to be a factor in any of these major races.
Well, Martin Keino, thank you very much for your insight.
Thank you.
Yeah, and accepting the ambush. And I'm sure we can continue with this. There is now 1 kilometer to go as they go over that barrier. Conseslus Kipruto is at the front. Benjamin Keegan is close by. And also, we've got Jeff Kira also in that. He won bronze in Mauritius at the African Championships that came to close a couple of weeks ago. And, for Wilfred, I mean, for a person, who's got, a story to tell from a personal level, the tumult that comes with being a top athlete and things coming your way, how great is it to see that Conseslus is back to running after all the kind of pressure that, he's been through over the last 2 years?
Well, I think thanks for asking that, because it takes an athlete with a very, I would say, very strong mentally for you to be able to take a break of 2-3 years and then come back and being able to compete at that level. I can tell you that he has a strong mind. Looking at him, the way he's already running here, he's going to prove to everyone that, yes, I may have fallen, but I can be back. And I think that is something that is very, very impressive for him. Because we understand, many athletes, some of these athletes, they go through a lot of pressure. They end up, in the wrong places. And when they decide, to come back, it's always good when you see them coming back and being able to prove that, I may have done certain mistakes, but I am back here. And I think for today, it's very impressive, going for the World Championships, because I think so far, as you can see, despite the fact that, of course, we have the likes of Bennett and Beth, those who are going to compete, Leonard Beth, Abraham Kibiwot, Benjamin Keegan. We know these athletes are very good, but if should Conseslus, for example, being able to make it, as we can see, this is the final lap, I can tell you that, this will mean a lot. And I think, as you can watch, already he's very good. And remember that the athlete that is going to win this race are those ones who are very good in kicking.
Well, and at the front is 2019 cross-country champion Amos Kirui, under-20 champion. He from 2016, Amos Kirui is at the front. And just take a look at that. It's a bit as Conseslus now dropped to fourth. Amos Kirui is trying to hold on to first place as they go around that end. And look at Amos Serem, under-20 champion from last year. Amos Kirui almost tumbling over, but take a look at this 4 as he takes the bend. Look at the clock. It's going to be a run for the final finish. Conseslus Kipruto, the defending champion, is in second place, and the world under-20 champion, he's got an 8:09.93 from Doha. And just take a look at them. Amos Serem takes it, slows down, 8:17. Conseslus Kipruto third, Amos Kirui fourth, and Leonard Bett is in fifth place. Crazy finish to that race, because Conseslus has a wild card by being the defending champion. So we can tell from that finish the 4 who will be going there. So Amos Kirui could be getting that other slot for the World Championships in Eugene, Oregon.
Interestingly, I saw Conseslus there doing what he does always, just talking to the people as he runs, and he has shown that, he does his things, just the same way with Ezekiel Kemboi would have his own way of doing things. And I think, as you rightly say, Conseslus, he knows that he has a wild card, but again, I think he's in top form, and at least, for Serem, it is good for him to win the trials, because that way, Wahome, it gives the athlete a confidence going to the championships. There's nothing as important as to have won the trials, because every athlete, Bakali, for example, is watching wherever he is, knowing that who has won the Kenyan trials, who is this that I'm going to compete with, knowing that Conseslus is coming back, and he's already here. It means something.
So over, let's go down to Isaac Lemoka, who's trackside, as he speaks with our winner today, Amos Rem, under-20 champion, proud to have beaten the best crop of athletes in the country. Over to you, Isaac Lemoka.
Serem hapa. Karibu sana. Serem, congratulations sana, na imekuwa ni mbio za kufana sana. Umezionaje leo?
Kwa mbio ya leo, kwa siku ya leo nimefurahia. Nilikuwa najua mbeleni nilisemanga ndakuja kuwakilisha Kenya team kwa mambo na Oregon. Nilisema nikiwa under 20. Sasa nilikuwa na hofu mingi, nikasema nisipomeng, na nilikuwa nimepromise hivi ikifikanga time nitakuwa nimeenda senior. Itakuwa kwa leo kwa vile nimebeba game na fry nenda kurepresent Kenya kwa Oregon. Title yetu stable just darudi.
Imekuwa ni ushindani mkali sana pamoja na Conseslus. Imekuwa vipi?
Imekuwa kwa leo nimefurahi. Nimekimbia na legend kina Konse, kina Abraham. Na nikapata kushinda. Tayari imenipatia saig mingi sana.
Tukielekea Oregon tutarajie nini?
Tukielekea Oregon tutarajia sasa gold. Kama sasa Ethiopia nakimbia siku hizi 750 something. Hata sisi tutaenda kungangana, tutakuwa pamoja wote.
Ukipata fursa unaweza kimbia Oregon na bado ukimbie Commonwealth?
Nikipata fursa nitakimbia huyo Oregon na nipate niwakilishe Kenya kwa championship.
Shukrani. Dance tena.
Ding.
Ama swali ya mwisho, strategy yako ya kushinda leo ilikuwa gani?
Strategy yangu ya leo kushinda ilikuwa kwanza ni Kenya team. After ni Kenya team. Niende ningangana sasa nipige kwa mbele huko. Ya Oregon.
Kama kuna pressure kwako juu last Tokyo tulipoteza title yetu ya steeplechase na World Championships, Bakali amekuwa strong sana of late. Do you feel kuna pressure kiasi kwako?
Kwa sasa hivi pressure iko. Kwa kitu nyingine nafaa sisi tunapata ni speed kwa sababu tukiangalia kwa watu kama El Bakari na Wayugirima wako na speed ya kumalizia the last 2 laps. Sasa ndio tunaenda kupiga sasa, tukiprepare tutapiga hivi. Tuko na all the best. Thank you. Asante sana.
Conseslus Kipruto. Congratulations. Mambo vipi? Umemaliza watatu. Kipi kimetokea?
Leo ilikuwa nikuja tu qualification.
Ndio.
Nilikuwa na wild card lakini niliambia federation na nilimwambia coach yangu na nilimwambia fans wangu watakuwa na mimi mwenyewe nataka nikimbie. Hiyo wild card ikae kadu kwanza. Wacha mimi nijitokeze nikuje nifanye kazi. Sasa kazi ya leo ilikuwa qualification na nisoee kuleta hiyo akili kuja kwa kazi. Unajua nilikuwa nimekaa kwa muda mingi lakini saa hizi nimemaliza races 3. Hasa leo sijasikia leo kama nimefanya kazi. Ni ile tu nilikuwa nataka nionyeshe wa Kenya ama fans wangu ama dunia niko around. Hasa kule Oregon wote tunaomba na mimi niko na imani nitajikaza, nataka ni defend title yangu.
Na ni strategy gani mtatumia kuona kwamba Kenya ina retain hiyo gold ya World Championship?
Mimi kibinafsi kwanza niko na hesabu yangu. Lazima nikuwe na hesabu yangu. Na kitu cha muhimu sana ni kutrain. Tuko na wiki 2. Tutakuja tu train hapa tukiwa group moja. Hiyo ndio tutasaidia sana. Sasa kabla hatujaenda huko bado tutawaambia mengi. Tukiwa kwa training tutawaambia penye tutakuja piga hesabu. Lakini kwa leo tunafurahi, nimepata strong team na bado tuko na wild card moja, tutaenda tukiwa watu 4. Sasa si wote tutakuja mazoezi, tupige mazoezi na tutaelezea mengi tukiwa kwa zoezi. Asanteni sana. Commonwealth lazima, hiyo ndio tikiti nilikuwa nakujia. Sasa si watatu tu cross 1 2 3 kule Oregon na tupitie Birmingham tuone maneno iko namna gani.
Wakenya wanakutazama, utawaambia nini?
Wakenya nawaambia asante sana kwa kunijia. Asante sana kwa kuniamini. Kwa sababu nakumbuka wiki 2 iliyopita nilikimbia kule Rabat na nikakimbia road, nikaona Wakenya wenye walifurahia, waliamuka na kuwa na imani na mimi. Sasa nawaambia mniombe na tuombe timu yote kwa jumla na tujiamini ya kwamba pia mimi nawaambia mkiniombea na mkinijia najiamini, waja tuko na wiki mbili tutaonana kule Oregon, mtuchie kwa TV, huwa mkichie kwa TV najua watu wako. Sasa nawaambia naenda kule kutiventa title yangu, hii ni mbio wa Kenya na wakimbia Kenya. Sasa najiamini, nimetuma mimi mwenyewe kukimbilia Kenya. Asante sana.
Shukran sana. Huyu ni amemaliza Conseslus Kipruto, huyu amemaliza watatu, na umemsikia mwenyewe amesema kwamba alikuwa amekuja hapa kuwapatia motisha team Kenya, akamaliza watatu, na amesema tiketi yake alikuwa amekuja maksudi kuweza tafuta tiketi ya kuelekea huko Birmingham wakati wa mashindano ya Jumuiya ya Madola. Tuna Kibiwot pia ambaye amemaliza wa pili, nitakuwa nazungumza na yeye hapa maksudi tu. Huyu hapa Kibiwot, congratulations. Hali vipi, mbio umezionaje?
Mbio ilikuwa sawa, tulikuwa tunawaka sa team, lakini hii si siku ya kwanza kukimbia trials, tulikuwa tumekimbia. That's why uliona tulikuja na konse mpaka nikamwambia twende polepole. Yeah.
Ni strategy ipi ambayo labda ulitumia na unanuia kutumia wakati mnafika Oregon maksudi kuweza kushinda katika mbio hizi za 1000 kuruka viunzi? Ni strategy ipi ambayo ulitumia leo kushinda na utatumia pia kama team Kenya kushinda katika mashindano yajayo ya Oregon?
Well, thank you Isaac Lamoka, and with the winner, that is Amos Serem, under 20 champion. And you know, for the 3,000 meters steeplechase, Wilfred, before we move on to the 800 meters, where we've got the 8 athletes, is that the top 4 have all been under 20 champions.
Yeah, you know, I mean, the beauty of it is in this country, I can tell you, is that, you know, at the moment, you know, Athletics Kenya is focusing so much on the under 20 development, the youth development, and that's why you find these athletes, you know, who are running and who are very good. They have all run the under 20. They were under 20. If you look at I would not be surprised during the 800 meters tomorrow, you know, for men, to have Simiyu, you know, who won the under 20 here. So I think there is a very good thing that we have athletes who are transitioning from the under 17, they go to under 20, and then they graduate to the seniors, and that is something that is very impressive. And I think it's something that all of us, those who love athletics in this country, to see such kind of development, that an athlete can be able to progress to become a senior. But something very important, and something that I think it's a huge challenge for the upcoming athletes and those who are running under 20, is that to be consistent, because we, again, when you look at this country, you know, we have a huge turnover in terms of athletes who are competing, but when it comes to those who are consistent, most of the time we have maybe, I would say, few athletes who have been consistent for so many years.
Well, Wilfred Bungei, as we see the ladies now getting ready for the 800 meters, and we're going to have 2030 world champion Eunice Sum running in lane 1. Remember, the entry standard required is 159.50. In lane 2, we're going to have Purity Chepkirui, Tiloa, 2:03.33. And for Purity Chepkirui, she won the 1,500 meters under 20 gold, and she won a silver in the 1,500 meters at Mauritius 2022. And she's a national champion in the 1,500 meters. Just to pick about Purity, a 1,500 meter runner coming down to your marquee event, the 800, what changes are required?
Well, I think, you know, the only thing that they need to work is on the speed, because for most of the 800 meter runners, if you look at the world of, and especially for the Kenyan athletes, most of them, they were running 400 and then they moved to 800. Hardly do you find a 1,500 meter runner coming down to run 800 meters, because they have got to work so much on their speed. Again, you know, surprisingly, in the list, we have Faith Kipyegon, who we knew and we thought that she was going to run her specialty, which is 1,500 meters. She has decided to run the 800 meters. But one thing that I know is that, you know, for such an athlete, what they need, that is Julius Yako, you know, they are, I think, you know, he will be performing. He already have a qualifying and enjoying the action here at Kasarani. But I was just mentioning, you know, about Faith Kipyegon. What happened is that she knows she has a qualifying time for the 1,500. She has a wild card, and she's doing this for the sake of speed, because every athlete, and especially for 1,500 meters, 800 meters, you need speed. And I think for her to become here, it means a lot. Let's see what is going to happen today. You know what? Those 1500 meter runner athletes, they might surprise the specialties of 800.
Well, let's wait for that, because right now in lane 8, Josephine Chelagat. But as we see Faith Kipyegon introduced, she's in lane 3. Lane 4 is Jerinta Mawea, the African champion in the in 2022. She won the gold and national champion 2019. And we've got Josephine Chelagat out in lane 7, Naomi Korir in lane 6. And remember, Faith Kipyegon is running in lane 3. She clocked 2:00.36 in FBK.
Remember that,
and off they go for the first 100 meters or so. They have to stick to their lanes, and then after that is when they will all converge. As we see Mary Moraa, who is up front, she won the Rabat Diamond League in 1:58.93. And remember that the Eunice Soom is also there, but what a gap by Mary Moraa as she goes around 200 meters in 27 seconds.
Yeah, that is really quick. Unfortunately, again, sometimes when you take off so quick in the first 200 meters, you can easily pay. But again, remember this, Wahome, 800 meters, this was my specialty. And I understand the mistakes that so many athletes, very good athletes, make, whereby you will find yourself in the box. And I think, Mary Moraa is coming here with a lot of experience. I hope she's in the top form again. She has a personal best of this year of 1:58.90. She has a personal best of 1:58.93.
Well, 57.
57. That is really quick.
400.
I can tell you that 57 is really quick. It's going to be again. I expect some changes, during the last one, because when you take off too quick, you are able to run the first 400 meters very, very fast. Chances is you will see Wahome and our viewers that when it comes to the second lap, it's going to be slow, because when you run 57 in the first lap and you expect it to the other one, it should be 1:54. But you will see that for them, the last lap will be a little bit slower than the first lap.
Well, and it's now the final 150 meters. Mary Moraa at the front, and just behind her we have got Faith Kipyegon, who's got a kick. African champion Jerinta Mawea is there. Mary Moraa, she's led from gun to tape. And look at her running this fast. How fast can this be? It's going to be under 2 minutes definitely. But what time does she break that? 1:57.45.
That is really quick. That is really quick, Wahome.
1:57.45 makes her the second fastest in the world this year.
And remember, it is not only 1:57 in altitude. It is so impressive. I think, the World Championships is going to be on fire. And I can tell you that watching Mary Moraa from here, running the second fastest time this year, and she has got only 3 weeks, she's actually very good, very consistent athlete. That has represented this country for so many years, and at least she's coming with a lot of experience. Again, something to mention, Wahome, is that when you see her taking from the lead, it is what most of the athletes, those who have been consistent for very long, they don't want to make any mistake of being boxed in, because that is a mistake that you don't want to make as an 800 meter runner.
Well, break down this race for us, because it's your specialty, because you looking at how she took off. It was a strong start from start to finish. Well, how do you analyze her race execution?
Well, I think, first and foremost, she came here when she's very prepared. Number 2, she made what Rudisha did in 2012, 2016, taking the lead from the front. And I think, as I said earlier,
we'll be coming back to that, because we've got to go down and hear from Isaac Lemoka speaking to Faith Kipyegon and Mary Moraa.
Mzuri. Okay. Usijali, natoa tu.
Faith, mambo vipi? Congratulations, umemaliza wa pili. Ushindi huu una maana gani kwako?
Kusema kweli nashukuru Mwenyezi Mungu. Nimeweza kukimbia 800 to test my speed, na nimeweza kukua position 2. I thank God. My plan nilikuwa nikuja 800 in this speed, na mara ameweka base imekuwa high, but I thank God she ran well. She's a good athlete from 800, and I thank God to people should too. Yeah.
So what is the plan going forward?
The plan going forward is that I'm focusing myself in 1500. I don't know about 800, but I thank God I've run a season best of 157. I was not expecting that. It was really quick. And I thank God I ran a seasonal best, and I'm so happy. Yeah.
Oregon tutarajie nini?
Oregon, I hope for the best in 1500. That's my main goal, to bring the medal home. And I hope I will do so, yeah.
Kunao wanariadha ambao labda wanakutishia?
Yeah, I know we will be very strong in 1500. Many strong athletes are coming up now, and I hope we are going there to fight for the gold medal. So I don't count in nobody. I don't count on nobody. I count myself, and I hope I'm the best, and I hope to bring the medal back home.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All the best.
For Commonwealth, I can't talk about it right now. Let me focus myself first in world jumps and hope for the best. Yeah, thank you.
Asante sana. Faith Kipyegon huyu mshindi wa pili, amemaliza wa pili katika mbio hizi za mita 800 kwa wanawake. Tukisubiria mita 400 kwa wanaume, tutakuwa tunazungumza na Mary Moraa ambaye ndo mshindi wa majaribio haya ambayo yanafanyika hapa katika uwanja wa Moi Sports Center Kasarani. Ameshinda Mary Moraa na yuko chini anafanyiwa naweza kusema ni massage kwa sasa. Anafanyiwa massage na kukandwa misuli tu makusudi aweze kuweza kutupatia mahojiano pamoja na kuzungumza na mwanariadha huyo kama unavyomuona hapo. Ni Mary Moraa ambaye amekimbia mbio, ameweka rekodi the fastest time katika mbio hizi za wanawake, jambo ambalo Faith Kipyegon pia ameonekana kumsifia mwanariadha huyu na kusema kwamba ni mwanariadha ambaye kwa hakika ataleta ushindani mkali sana na mabadiliko makubwa katika mbio hizi wakati watakuwa wakisafiri kuelekea nchini Marekani huko Oregon katika mashindano ya dunia.
La kufungia ukurasa wa mashindano haya, na vile vile wale regional delegates pia wasiondoke. Kwa sasa tunasubiri mita 400 wanaume, shindano la mwisho na kutufungia ukurasa.
Protect my energy from your cardora. Let my pastor say I be my healer, everything I desire. I go to see my rhythm flow like a river. If you get sour, come on, go and sit down. I go just para, come off my jigger. I go just follow my dream. I'm feeling vibes on vibes.
Tukaendelea na mazoezi. I think like 2 weeks yenye imepita. Ikafika on Tuesday akaniambia sasa nimekuachilia, just relax, ngoje trials. So nimekuwa nikisema ile performance yenye niliperform kwa nationals siwezi rudia hiyo mistake. Nikapatana na Faith pia akanipea morali, yani at least nikafeel I have somebody mwenye anani pea choto. Akanipea comfort, akaniambia tukifika tu kwa uwanja learn your race, anything can happen. Na nimeshukuru Mungu nimekuwa mshindi na nimekimbia my personal best I'm happy for that.
Ni mikakati gani umeweka kuona kwamba unafanya vizuri hata zaidi wakati unaelekea Oregon?
Kwa hapo ufanya hiyo nyanya nimechiekea na kocha ameweka, naona si mbaya. Nikiendelea na hiyo moral, I think kwa World Championship najua uwezi nisema moral ndaenda kwa mshindi. Anything can happen kwa race.
Na utazungumzia nini kuhusiana na Commonwealth Games?
Commonwealth Games, I think after tumemaliza World Championship tukienda huko tutangangana, watarajia tu mazuri kutoka kwetu.
Shukran sana.
Thank you.
Asante. Huyo ni Mary Moraa ambaye ni mshindi wa mbio hizi za mita 800 kwa wanawake, akizungumza na sisi hapa baada ya kutoa ubingwa katika mbio hizi za mita 800. Mita 400 kwa wanaume kwa sasa ndo wanajiandaa makusudi kuweza kuona ni akina nani watakaoweza kuwakilisha taifa la Kenya katika mbio hizi za mita 400 kwa wanaume. Mbio hizo zikikamilika pia tutazungumza na wale ambao watakuwa wameibuka kidedea katika mbio hizi, lakini kwa sasa bado tena na kurudisha kwake Daniel Wahome.
Thank you very much, Isaac Lemoka, speaking to Mary Moraa and Faith Kipyegon. And you know, Bungei, let me just come back to Mary Moraa's race execution, because 1:57.45 is the third fastest time at altitude all time.
Very impressive. I told you from the beginning that, you know, for her to have taken the lead and being able to run 1:57.45, that was very impressive. And I think something very worth mentioning is that, you know, she said that, you know, for her, she has prepared, knowing very well that I need to be ready and being on top form at the right time. Let me tell you, to run 1:57, and she has got only 3 weeks, you know, to maintain that form. I can tell you, we have a lot of prospects for medal. But again, do not forget to mention that, you know, Faith Kipyegon was able to do her personal best of 1:58 in 800 meters. And I think she was doing this for the speed. Again, it shows that these athletes, they are very ready for the World Championships in Oregon, Eugene.
Well, and yes, and also Jarinta Mawia, the African champion, 2:00:36. Well, now time for the men's 400 meters. It's the final event of the day, and this is going to be interesting. And just going through this, James Lokidici was scheduled to be in lane 1, but he's not going to be there. But there is Emmanuel Korir. 44.9 is required, but remember, he has the third fastest time ever by a Kenyan, and that was way back. He clocked 44.21 in 2018 before the African Championships in Asaba. The only people who've run faster are the late Samson Kitur, 44.18, the national record, and Charles Gitonga with a 44.2. Then in lane 3, we've got Kelvin Kiprotich from Prisons, 46.10. Jared Momanyi of the Kenya Defence Forces, he is in lane 4. He has got a time of 47.22 coming into this event. Boniface Mweresa, the former national champion, 45.7 is the time. William Ryan of Police, 45.51. Colin Zomai, the national champion, clocked 46.03 in April in very cold conditions and had to slow down. Kennedy Kimeu, 45.96. For the sprinters, I think qualification time closes just in a few days, but 44.9. What's required so that we can have, runners like Charles Gitonga? We had the late Samson Kitur was always up there. David Kitur was another 400-meter great. Elkani Nyang'ao was also up there. John Andra. How do we get back that groove?
I believe we have a very big chance as a country, Wahome, to be able to do sprints, because already with 100 meters, having the second fastest man in the world, for those who are running 400, they just not need to look far. They need to look in the past, with Samson Kitur, Charles Asati, all these other guys who are able to compete in the past. We can still do it. Again, when you look at someone like Boniface Mweresa, who is a very consistent athlete, he has run for a very long time. He has a lot of experience in this. He needs to push a little bit higher so that we can be able to have qualifying. But again, with these trials that we have here, I believe we may have 3 athletes definitely going to represent the country during the Commonwealth Games. It may be a challenge for the World Championships, but at least if we have these guys, what I believe is this: we should have them.
Well, it's a men's 400 meters. All eyes on lane 2. Emmanuel Korir. He is the current Olympic champion. His coach is the 1988 Olympic champion. He is a UTEP minor, University of Texas, El Paso. So, there we go. Korir into Tonui 3, Momanyi 4, Mweresa 5, Ryan 6, Omai 7, Kimeu 8. And that is wild coming in from Kelvin Tonui. He's taken off, and when they just take a look at the timing equipment,
But I want to say this again,
the tension.
If for example, these guys are going to, with the international rules, that you take off before, you may be disqualified. This is something very important that our athletes, and especially those who are in the sprints, they need to take care so that they cannot be disqualified just because of, before the gun. So we are waiting to see the officials what's going to happen.
Actually, there are 2 athletes. I pick Kelvin Tonui and William Ryan.
Because basically, Wahome.
All right. The card's being picked. Bottom center. The cards have been pulled out. It's a green
card. Wow. I think for every athlete, I can tell you, Wahome, that is the time that you do not want to be disqualified. I can tell you that. And that is why I said, it depends with the rules. But fortunately, it was before the gun goes off. That is something that is very important for these athletes to be able to watch.
Okay, again, Korir in 2, Tonui in 3, Momanyi in 4, Mweresa in 5, Ryan in 6, Omai in 7, Kimeu in 8, the men's 400 meters. That's a reaction from the gun.
Well, I think that is a reaction from the gun. I don't think that there is any athlete who took off. But let's wait and see what the officials are going to say on this. Because basically, if there's a mistake of the technicality, then definitely no athlete can be disqualified with a false start.
So they have to go back. What the timing equipment does is that it picks up your reaction time at all times. And when the reaction time is out is faster than 0.1 of a second, then that is declared a false start. And there is the track judge making her way forward. And that is a false start coming in from William Ryan. So the reaction was from a false start by William Ryan. That's been confirmed. So that means William Ryan is out. One of the fastest Kenyans that we have. Actually, he's been the fastest in the field this year, 45.51. So now this is the field. Korir in 2, Tonui in 3, Momanyi in 4, Mweresa in 5, Omai in 7, Kimeu in 8. The start of the men's 400 meters. And this time they're off and legit and upright already is the current Olympic champion. Emmanuel Korir going round the bend and picking up fast. He is Mweresa going down the straight, catching up with Omai. And a little touch of the nose that coming in from Emmanuel Korir as he catches up with them. 200 meters to go as they go round the bend. Mweresa is at the front. Collins Omai, the national champion, is trailing behind him. But let's take a look at how long can Mweresa hold these as they get into the home straight. And take a look at Emmanuel Korir. He makes his way forward. And he's surging forward. The Olympic champion. Take a look at this. Moving fast and forward. He runs down the clock and crosses the line. 44.89. He has just gone inside the qualifying time by 0.01 of a second. The fastest time on Kenyan soil is here. The fastest time in Kenyan soil since he did a 44.21 in 2018.
What a race. I think we knew very well that this race is going to be between Boniface Mweresa and Emmanuel Korir, and Korir has done it 44.89 in altitude. This is very impressive. I think apart from qualifying alone, Wahome, we should be able to mention that, being able to run that in high altitude, this boy, Emmanuel Korir, has a big chance to be able to run under 44, especially in low altitude, in a race that he will be able to compete with everyone. Because remember that, he was running from second lane, he was chasing all these guys, but as they come towards the finish line, he was all alone in the front until he was pushed at the last minute. 44.89 is very, very impressive and good time actually.
And you can imagine, now you can see how fast he's beaten that field. And just taking a look at what Emmanuel Korir, coached by Paul Ireng, becoming the first gold medalist at an Olympics to coach an Olympic gold medalist. And Isaac Lemoka is going to be speaking.
Congratulations bana, 44 ni muda mzuri sana. Ulikuwa unatarajia kuandikisha muda huo?
It's been long running the 400 meters since I was disqualified in the Olympics. But I'm happy I'm back.
What is the strategy? What is the strategy?
Actually, in 400 you don't have strategy. It's all about running all around. Yeah.
What should we expect when you go back to Oregon, USA?
Probably because I'll be doing the 800 meters both. So I'll figure out. I'll do my best. It's tough running the both events, but I'll do something better.
Did today's weather affected you in any way?
Maybe a little bit, because you're trying to jog, trying to get warm, but the problem is the weather will be doing the same thing, trying to cool down your body again. So, but at least we made it.
What about Commonwealth?
I'm sure you're gonna do better. In the Commonwealth, because it's gonna be after the World Champs, and I'm sure you'll have a winning team.
Thank you so much. All the best, Korir.
Thank you.
All right. Apa. Hi, mambo vipi? Race imekuaje Omae?
Not how I expected it to be, but hiyo ndio nature of sprinting. Some days inakuja, your body doesn't respond, but we keep pushing. We rectify our mistakes and we keep pushing.
Unaweza sema ni mistake gani labda leo ilikuhinda?
It's just the body. I gave it my all, but nika mwili haku respond. Yeah, so we understand that is the nature of sport. So we'll rise again. We'll fight another day.
Going forward?
Yeah?
Going forward?
Yeah, going forward. The focus is still on. We keep training and hope for the best.
Thank you so much, Collins Omae.
You're welcome.
Asante sana.
From tomorrow we need to be on the other side.
Yeah, that is Collins Omae speaking to us right here after the 400 meters. Collins Omae finishing at number 5 with 46.82. Kevin Kiprotich was number 4, and Emmanuel Kipkurui, we've just talked to him. Boniface Mweresa, we're waiting for Boniface Mweresa, who finished this 400 meters race at number 2, clocking 45.79. But that is the latest, and that is the last race for today, as we await the second day of the national trials to happen yet again tomorrow right here at the Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani. Back to you, Daniel Wahome.
Well, thank you very much, Isaac Lemoka, speaking with Emmanuel Korir, who's won the trials here. 44.87 is the official time that has been posted, which means it's 0.03 inside of the qualifying standard of 44.9 required. Taking second place, Boniface Mweresa, 45.79 seconds. And third was Kennedy Kimeu, 46.38. Fourth, Kelvin Tanui, 46.38. Fifth, Collins Omaya, 46.82. And right at the end, Jared Momanyi, 47.77. But a drama-filled 400 meters.
First of all, we saw Tonui take off way before that, and then there was the false start that saw William Ryan thrown off.
Well, I think, something worth mentioning, Wahome, is that to our viewers, Emmanuel Korir is 800 meters Olympic champion, not 400 meters. But, running 44.8, and I've had him, in the interview here, he said that, he's going to run 800 meters. That means 800 meters is going to be explosive in Eugene, because when an athlete comes and run 44, because I remember that myself and Rudisha, for example, we were running 400, but we were doing 45 or 44 high. Unlike, this guy who is very ready. So I think for me, 800 is an event. Definitely, Emmanuel Korir is going to run 800 when we will be there. I don't know if he will make a choice to run 400, but chances is he's going to run 800, and definitely it's going to be a win. And I think, what is so impressive is that, the others as well, he was able to pull everyone to be able to post fast times in altitude. Can I tell you what? And something that I'm very confident is we are going to have medals during the World Championships and also during the Olympic Games. That is something that I am very confident about, especially based on the kind of races that we have been able to watch here today on day one of the Kenyan trials. Definitely, we have again, tomorrow for the other events that is coming up, Wahome.
Well, we'll be giving you a recap of all the events that I've run today and the moments and the magic of all that. And tomorrow, the events that are lined up, the men's javelin throw is going to be at noon. The 400-meter hurdles, look out for Moitalel Nodokila. He's going to be running, missed out last year because of anti-doping regulations. The 5,000 meters women's final is going to be tomorrow. The 3,000 meters women's steeplechase 2019 world champion Beatrice Chepkoech, we'll see her here. The 1,500 meters men's final will also be coming through tomorrow. The women's 400 meter final. Then we've got the 10,000 meters men's final. This is going to be interesting. With Rogers Kwemo in the mix, Wilfred Bungei will want to see who's going to continue with the surge in the 800 meters. He's going to be with us, looking for that. And then we're going to have the 100 meters and women's and men's finals. So that's the point at which we do. We can do. The outlook, first of all, as we summarize today, interesting things. One, the 800 meters women crack that for us because it was a great battle and the third fastest time at altitude in that event.
Despite the fact that this has become an invite-only event, Wahome, is that interestingly for this, the athletes have posted fastest times. We have seen what we have not seen in recent past, especially during the trials. Most of the time when we would have fastest time posted, Wahome, was when you have the trials continuing for 3 days, and then you have got a lot of the rounds, the hits, the semi-finals, and then the finals. But again, here is just a direct race. That they come here to do the finals, and at least they are posting very good times. It means a lot. Again, these athletes have got now to prepare, knowing that when they go to Oregon, the challenge will be they will be going through the rounds, the semi-finals, and then the finals. But again, as Kenyans, they are always ready. They are always performing. They know that they have to go through the rounds, and it will not be a problem for them.
All right, Wilfred Bungei, thank you very much for
sitting here. Join us tomorrow at noon when we take you through day 2 of the trials for the World Championships and the Commonwealth Games. Remember, those 2 events are going to be live on KBC Channel 1. And my name is Daniel Wahome, and on behalf of the team that put this together, I want to say thank you very much. And we'll leave you with pictures of some of the events today, including the explosive women's 10,000 meter final, the women's 800. Keep watching. Coming up next is Kurunzi on KBC Channel 1.
brother, una communicate na ule DJ huko. Nataka nimwambie, itabidi hiyo muziki ameikanyagia hapo tu. Asiweke zaidi. Hapo tu asiweke volume.
Tiffany, can you put your phone and your ego aside for a minute?
No, I definitely don't want to.
Tea will be ready in 3 minutes.
The gas cooker is not even lit.
Oh.
Sweet home.
I mean, why did we even move back here?
Kathy wants us to bond.
Bond?
Cook. Nikipikia raia tao.
I just wish he was a bit more ambitious.
He is.
Don't be sarcastic.
He wants what you have.
You're not so smart after all, are you?
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Atakange kwa metuka